You are about to opt into Monerotopia, a show for Monero community where all are welcome to join. From noob to maxi, no matter what bags you hold. Just sit back and relax to the sweet sounds of Monero's latest progress. Or if you're feeling inspired, join us on stage. Remember, the only thing that can stop Monero is a false belief that it can be stopped. And if you want to win the revolution faster, we recommend you remove your XMR from all custodial exchanges immediately. Warning, voting accidents are common around here. Don't forget to properly secure your private keys. Monerotopia starts now.
Happy New Year!
Hey, Tony.
Hey,
Man.
hey, everybody.
What's going on? How you doing?
Good. It's I'm excited for 2024. I wish people not only Happy New Year, but I also wish them to be stronger because we don't know what's going to happen in this year. Is it going to be a good year? We're probably going to have more wars. Things will probably get worse from the government. We might have a new section which we're going to say the CBDC is officially here in the US. Maybe it's going to be this year. So
things are ramping up, right, Tony? It's like
yeah.
And I feel like Monero is on the front lines, right?
Yeah.
It feels like Monero is definitely in the crosshairs.
Yes.
Which is right where we want to be.
Yes, exactly.
That's the whole point of doing this.
Exactly. So
thanks for taking over today, man.
No, thank you. Honestly, no, I'm excited.
Good. Awesome. I know we haven't had enough Tony recently. I know you've been a busy guy. But you never left us. You always stuck around. I know you had a lot of things going on, so I appreciate you sticking around and now stepping up to help us out.
No, yeah, for sure. 2023 has been kind of crazy, and I was all over the place. But now I got my Saturdays back and my schedule back, and I'm gonna be able
to. So this will be all right. So you'll be pretty consistent with jumping on Saturdays. Fantastic.
Yeah, starting now. Yeah. I mean, I love you guys. I love the show. So I never wanted to, even if I couldn't, I always wanted to stick around and help somehow.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
So what's been kind of your take on things this year, 2023? How do you feel about Monero these days?
How do I feel about Monero? Well,
the project, whatnot. Just curious what your overall outlook is.
Yeah, so it's interesting how in the beginning of 2023, when we would go over the news section, some things that we were talking about actually kind of came true at the end of 2023. Like, for example, we were talking about how in the beginning, we were talking about Nigeria and how the e-Naira, their CBDC, doesn't have a lot of usage at all. And then we were talking about how they're going to get coerced eventually to use it more. And towards the end, that's what kind of happened. The government is trying to make them use the CBDC more and more. So it's kind of interesting how, and that's what I like. That's what I love about the news section is that we discuss things, we kind of prophesize in the future, and they usually come true. And people will maybe think that we're crazy, but we can just tell them, go back a couple months ago in the news section and see what we said.
Check the record. Check the record.
Yeah, check the record. And then also what I read a book from, maybe some of you know, from Michel de Nostradamus. So Nostradamus used to be a prophet, a medic from the 16th century, and he made a lot of predictions all the way to the year 7000. So how does that relate to Monero? Well, and I read a book on the 21st century, like 21st century predictions, and it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And I'm trying to pay attention more to the coming years, and because most of his predictions that he mentioned actually became true. So I'm trying to relate that, and I just see, having finished the book, I just realized how much more important Monero is, because what is coming in the future is the worst 1984 situation imaginable that George Orwell has not even be able to put in words. So I think Monero is going to be more and more and more important. And I think eventually it's not going to be something incremental when it comes to adoption. I think it's going to be an exponential adoption to Monero, when people will realize how powerful it is and how we need to Moneroize everything, not only the money, about the internet, and just so we can have overall privacy.
Yeah, and liberty in the digital age. I'm noticing that too. Like just the concern is going more mainstream, right? Like people that I talk to, people in my daily life, people that aren't into crypto or Monero, but just kind of feeling them out, and they're starting to see, get these dystopian vibes as well, right? It's becoming very obvious to everyone the direction things are headed in terms of tyrannical governments taking advantage of technology, trying to corral people.
Yes.
We obviously it was a big eye opener with COVID. It took people some time. Some people didn't really realize it till kind of after the fact. They're looking back at it like, wow, I got played. But now people are more vigilant in general. They're questioning everything, which is good and bad, right? There kind of is no truth anymore. It makes you wonder if that's kind of part of the game that's being played here. People don't know who to believe, and then with AI, you can't trust it, right? You see videos out there, you don't know what's real, what's fake.
Exactly.
But what we do know is there are powerful entities out there that are using technology with the goal of controlling people, and because that's just human nature. It's always been that way. That's not like a novel conspiracy theory. The only difference is now they have an amazing amount of power at their hand, given the technology they have, and that everybody's been onboarded to the internet. And it's just ripe for the perfect scenario where they can control a large swath of society. But yeah, let's just try to stay positive. I see Vic is saying good morning. What's up, Vic? Thanks for joining us as always. Thank you for the generous sponsorships as always, Vic. It was an amazing 2023. I gave Cake a shout out last week. I posted after New Year's, I did my own little Monerotopias. I don't know if you saw it. I gave out some superlatives. I was going to try to do it on the show. It never happened. So I was like, you know what? Let me just send out a little tweet thread. So I threw some recognition to Cake, obviously, for being I would say the most supportive project in the ecosystem overall with regards to Monero. So always super thankful for that. Let's keep it moving though. Let's get Bawdy up. Obviously, we got a lot of price news. Maybe not the best news for those who watch the price versus fiat, but certainly some interesting news given the rumors with the delistings and whatnot. Or we'll see what Bawdy has to say.
Okay, let's keep it going.
Yes, go ahead and run the segment, and then we'll bring Bawdy up.
Okay, sounds good.
Sweet, thanks, Tony.
The Monerotopia Price Report segment is sponsored by Local Monero. Avoid using KYC exchanges. Buy and sell Monero directly for fiat, peer-to-peer.
These intros are pretty badass, not gonna lie.
Right, wait, we got to get Bawdy up here. I'll add him to stage.
Yep.
There we go.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Bawdy. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year's. Who made the intro, by the way?
I think our editor in an undisclosed location. I cannot reveal.
I would ask, is he in the chat? I don't want to mention his name.
It's a she. She does a ton of work for us. She edits all the Monerotopia videos. Very talented. We pay her with Monero, and
nice.
She's actually a fantastic Monero story. The story of Monero working as intended. I'll put it to you that way. I've kind of spoken about it in the past, but I probably shouldn't say it too much all the time.
Okay. Well, I'll stop asking questions then.
Yeah. No worries. No worries. Yeah. But she's great.
Cool. Well, are you guys?
Hold on. Sunita's saying she made this intro. I thought it was Ava. Oh, okay. Wow. Look, we got Sunita out of her seat.
Nice. Well, kudos to Sunita. That's a good intro. All the intros are really good. And she does the voiceover.
Stepped forward.
So, Bawdy, obviously we got I haven't checked the price this morning, but it looks like yesterday Monero was taking a hit. I don't know if crypto in general has been recently taking a hit.
It depends on which crypto.
The whole wider market pulled back, right? Even beyond crypto, and I think that brought crypto with it. And then obviously we have everything with the potential delisting. So curious to hear your overall take on things.
Yeah. Well, I'm not gonna lie. I haven't really been like super heavily focused on price every day, so I don't want to pretend like I'm gonna be able to give any like big insights here on this price report today. So
Yeah.
yeah, I know it's like what a lame disclaimer. But we can look at the charts, we can look at what everything did. I mean, for the most part, everything's still pretty flat, pretty steady state, which is fine. Like as far as like the stock market pulling back, I think that's a good thing. Like we don't want to see things just immediately parabolically run up. That's like, it's not good. That wouldn't be a good situation. So, for example, here's the NASDAQ. This area right here. Actually, this is the NASDAQ futures, but right, this area right here. Let's drop a line. That horizontal area was the previous all-time high from back in the end of 2021. And we broke that, right? We said, hey, if the cabal wants to tell everyone sort of subtly or like push the psychology bullish, they're going to probably break that all-time high before we come back down to retest it. And that's what happened here. You'll notice I have these purple lines turned on. Again,
wait, hold on. Yeah, we can't see the chart here. Hold up a sec.
Oh, I'm sitting here talking.
Where's that screen? Oh, here we go. It says, not connected. I see charts. It says devices not connected.
How about now?
I added you too.
Okay, there you
go. I just
sorry about that.
No worries.
Okay, now we can see it.
I've updated. I've done everything I can, like Firefox, my system, yada yada. Every time that I try and add StreamYard and then present on these Firefox charts, like it crashes immediately. So what I have to do is I use a different browser, and luckily StreamYard allows you to share, like to choose which window you want to share, which screen you want to share. So anyways, I've got to like use a double browser setup to make this thing work. Anyways, okay, so I'll go back here a second and we'll go backwards. So we're looking at the NASDAQ here. This is technically NASDAQ futures, which basically pretty close match the NASDAQ. Okay, so what we were saying here is that this all-time high, right? This was the previous all-time high in 2021, and like slightly 2022 even. What I said is that if the cabal wants to like put the sort of the positive momentum in people's minds, right, the bullish sentiment, what they'll do is they'll break that all-time high for a little bit before they come back down to test it. And when I say like they come back down to test it, I'm not implying that like they are in control of the markets 100% with their with their fingers on the wheels and they can just like do anything they want. It's more like they can influence big macro movements at a minimum, and they can keep pushing things in certain directions. But a lot of intraday movement, a lot of other kinds of movements, there's still a lot of like organic stuff that happens out there. And when I say organic, I mean like the totality of high frequency traders, plebs getting into and out of positions, big money moving in and out of positions, banks printing money and deciding which stocks are going to receive new liquidity. Anyways, so yeah, we basically broke the previous all-time high, coming back down, retesting it here. Could we come back down one more time to this area? Sure we could. I've kind of got this guy drawn out here. There's a whole bunch of different ways that we could draw this channel. But the main thing, actually, let me just delete that line. The main thing that I wanted to show you guys on this chart were these purple lines. So again, these purple lines are statistical levels, just like the blue lines, just like the orange lines. Orange and the blue lines are one standard deviation. White is the moving averages, right? And we're talking about overlaying all of them from like the 10-day all the way up to the 5,000 day. We just overlay them all because we want to look for clustering, because clustering is where the most number of people are going to sort of be attracted to those areas without realizing it in aggregate. So the purple lines was something that we had to create because you'll notice the blue lines it doesn't necessarily give us the full picture that we need to create like sort of resistances and know where topping areas are. So essentially it's like a derivation of the upper standard deviation. It is not a multiplication factor because that's arbitrary. It's basically just standard deviation of a standard deviation line and adding it to that. So anyways, on a long-term time scale, what I would expect the NASDAQ to do ultimately is to eventually press up here to this purple band area. And depending on how long they want to make that run, you would just expect to essentially trend in between the blue and purple bands on the way up. Now, one thing that we probably need to start considering is that we are in an election year, and the pattern has been for a long time that crises, whether it's financial or whatever, you name it, right, 2020, they usually happen around the election cycle. That could be immediately before, it could be immediately after. Go back to 2001, right? Bush takes office, 9 months later, 9/11. 2008 crisis happens just after Obama takes office. So usually, especially when there's a changing of the guard, it seems like big crises have hit. So, and then again, Biden gets elected, and Trump was like the last guy to, like, he oversaw the end, the end of Trump's term, oversaw the beginning of the stuff, and then Biden assumed control after that. So if there's going to be a changing of the guard, expect something major to happen. But ironically, I'm starting to play with this idea that if Biden wins the real quote unquote wins, let's use that term very loosely, wins in the full power spectrum of what it means to win. Not implying, actually, I am implying something there. Anyways, if he quote unquote wins, I would probably expect the markets to basically just continue steady state, mostly up, right? That would be a good sign that there's bull market here to come. If there's a changing of the guard, if there's like some other pre-planned person selected to go into that position, into the presidential spot, then that would put more weight on the potential for some kind of economic crisis to happen. So yeah, so I guess we're already on macro, so why don't we just go ahead and stay on macro? Let's take a look. Let's break down, actually, let's look at the top level liquidity first, and then we'll break down the components of that liquidity. Okay, so here's the NASDAQ yet again. NASDAQ's not as important as the green line, which is the U.S. total liquidity. Again, U.S. total liquidity, we're talking about reverse repos, the Treasury balance sheet, M2SL, and the Federal Reserve balance sheet. So it took a big dip right at the new year, but then it popped right back up. So basically, liquidity is as high as it has been since... God, man, that was really high back then. As it's been since basically the top of the bull market. One thing that's interesting is that the liquidity actually peaked after the peak of the bull market. So maybe there's a lesson in there. I'm not quite sure. Speculatively, brainstorming, I might say, okay, well, perhaps there just wasn't any more juice to squeeze from the market, so it reversed first, and they tried to push it up again with more liquidity, failed, and then basically the liquidity followed suit. But in this case, the other thing too is, like, you might look at this and say, well, the NASDAQ actually looks like it kind of led the total liquidity. And that's because there's different components here that make up this liquidity. And I think they have different velocities in terms of how quickly they get into the market. Anyways, the point is that liquidity is still pretty high. It's not showing us, like, the overall liquidity is not showing us the potential for a massive crash here or anything like that. Let's take a look at the reverse repos, because I think that the reverse repos was the primary driver of the primary driver of the bear market, or maybe we should say it's a primary correlated asset, or not asset, but correlated chart. And also, it's been primarily correlated for us on the rebound, right? On the sort of new bull market, the incipient, cautiously optimistic bull market. So the reason that we saw that dip on the New Year's was because we saw a huge spike. And what's interesting is that we saw the exact same spike on the last New Year's. So this spike right here, massively, like, that happened like the day before, or the week leading up to the changeover of the new year. We saw the same thing here, and then it came right back down immediately after the new year. So I'm sure there's like some fundamental reason that I haven't divinated just quite yet. But at any rate, sitting at about 600 and let's just call it 700 billion. Still $700 billion of the reverse repos that could hypothetically come out of the reverse repos, and that would be liquidity for bond markets. That would be liquidity for stock markets. And you need both to be stable. Particularly, you need bond markets to be stable or increasing, which means that bond rates are slowly decreasing while the value of those bonds are increasing. You need bonds to be relatively stable to keep stock market gains on the table. It's true because it rhymes. So let's see. Let's go keeping up with the macro idea here, the macro theme. Bonds. Okay. So here's what the bond situation looks like. Yeah, bonds came down significantly, and probably, again, this was a significant driver of the recent gains in stock market. Looks like it's taken a little bit of a pause here, but overall, this is still steady state. This chart is suspicious, but only on a long-term sense. We're waiting for yields to get below the tabletop. And let's see, what was the other thing I wanted to show you guys? Oh, interestingly enough, the Federal Reserve balance sheet is like still continues to come down. What's crazy is that usually the balance sheet coming down has been correlated with bear markets, with downside action, etc. But I think because of the new dynamic that the reverse repo market introduces, I think that the Federal Reserve balance sheet has been able to get away with decreasing. They've been able to drop this thing pretty significantly. Like we're talking, what is that? Almost 9 trillion, now sitting at 7.7 trillion. So I mean, they've been able to drop like over $2 trillion from this balance sheet so far. And I think this is, again, like this kind of stuff. We're looking at this because it tells you that they have tricks up their sleeve. They have new things they can do. They've always got like they learned from their mistakes in the past. They learned from 2008, and they locked down that banking crisis last year in March. Like they were like, nope, that's not going to happen. We're going to take care of it now. Even though in a lot of ways you might have said it was worse than the 2008, like the potential there was worse than 2008, but they were on it like fucking flies on shit. So they prevented anything major from happening there. And I think that was like, that kind of fooled the recession now people, right? We've had the recession now people for a year or longer telling us about recession. It's like, well, where's the recession? It hasn't happened yet, at least not officially. So yeah, that's kind of what the macro situation looks like. Interesting. Oh no, that's not good. Updating is like always such a dicey thing. Maybe I need to drop Firefox. Okay, anyways, at least that tab got restored. But anyways, that's basically the macro. We didn't look at oil. Let's look at oil just quickly. And we didn't look at gold. Okay, so oil is like, again, just it's stable, right? This is what we want. We want to see it here in this area. If you want gains, and also like inflation. We want to keep inflation down, hope inflation stays down. So oil's good. Gold, it's just still consolidating. It's a very long-term chart. Gold could continue to consolidate for quite a while. It could break out at any moment. Who knows when? I don't know. Probably the cabal does know. But yeah, gold could break out at some point here, but it's still right now just consolidating. All right, let's go to Monero. Let's take a look at the travesty of what happened the past few days. So yeah, we were looking good. It felt good. Felt like we should move up. And then I don't know. Did the Binance news cause this? Have they been saving up a reserve to drop on the market? Are they like, who knows what's going on? The government has now got their hands all up inside of Binance's business. And so who knows what the government is going to want them to do when it comes to Monero. And when it comes to like these statements that they're making, it's like, and they're like really jacking things around. They're like, oh, well, we need to hear a response from these corporations of coins. And we're like, we don't have a corporation, bro. And so like, well, maybe we won't delist you, but probably we will, but maybe we won't, right? Like they've just been vacillating. So maybe this has something to do with that. Maybe it's pre-planned. I mean, it's hard to say, like, but you know what? Fuck them, and who cares? Monero is going to continue to function. We're going to continue like having some kind of price support on the basis of its legitimate organic usage. The transactions I thought were interesting. We had that big bounce up here, and then things just crashed down for the Christmas, like basically right around Christmas. I don't know. Like I don't like these big, large pumps here, but at the same time, maybe there is some evidence that we had people were making a lot of Monero transactions. I mean, it's pre-Christmas. People go on vacation, right? People got to move their money around. People rotate keys. Some people rotate keys, once a year, once every couple of years. And the New Year's time frame is a good time to do that. So maybe this was like organic. I am like, sometimes I am suspicious when we get like massive pump spikes up. I do wonder how much their chain analysis can target people for narrow time frames to try and like maybe find some like statistical probabilities in a certain direction that helps them know where to look. I don't know. That's speculative. Who really knows what their capabilities are? We know they're working on it. We know they're like, at a minimum, we know that these guys are probably experimenting to see what they can see, right? When it comes to statistical math, there's always the theory of the math. And then there's like really what happens in the real world. Can you validate your theory in the real world? Especially with something as complex as a system like Monero, you're going to have to go take your ideas and then try and validate them in the real world. So, it's not that hard to flood Monero with some transactions for a period of time, especially with the kind of money they're dealing with. So, I mean, I have to imagine that some of these spikes, that doesn't mean all, but some of these spikes probably are chain analysis trying to see what they can see. Let's take a look at the Bitcoin transaction fees, because this is always a lull chart. Still, actually, it's come back down a little bit, hovering in between $10 and $20. Maybe this is a sign. Maybe the BRC20s are going to take a break here soon. Who knows? Right now, Bitcoin is just the output set is being massively polluted with basically tokens. They're using outputs to represent tokens. That's what a BRC20 is. But let's take a look at the total crypto market. So Bitcoin. Bitcoin again.
The charts again.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Shit.
Oh, wow. Okay. Oh, you know what? My StreamYard crashed. Man.
Oh, shit.
God. Maybe I should just revert all my updates. Enter charts, present, share screen, window.
What happened? You did a big update?
I mean, you're all, every system is always updating constantly. I reshared them, so they should hopefully be there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, you're always updating systems, but yeah, FreeBSD had a big update a few months ago that I finally got around to installing, and then I updated all of my other, Firefox and everything else. So it's always dicey to do updates. I guess, to Linux credit, especially like Ubuntu and some of these other ones, they have gotten pretty good with updates, typically not breaking stuff. So hopefully I didn't lose you guys for too long on the charts there.
Yeah.
Where did they drop out?
I'm not sure, to be. I was tweeting something.
Okay. All right. Well, anyways,
go ahead.
Let's see. We had talked about some Monero transactions. We talked about them spiking. The chart wasn't like super relevant to that little rant. Bitcoin transactions hovering between 10 and 20.
I mean, what do you think? That's pretty clear that was some kind of right. Certainly wasn't an organic movement, right? That's
what I was saying is that a lot of this, maybe it could have been organic because it's pre-holidays, so people might be selling to go on vacation, buy presents. They might be rotating keys because it's the end of year. And I mean, we have heard there has been no shortage of stories this year for reasons to rotate your keys, which is in and of itself, that's inherently dangerous to rotate your keys. But apparently it's also dangerous to not rotate your keys. So there's been no shortage of reasons. So there might have been a lot of people rotating keys. It happens at the end of year, or a lot of people do that kind of like housekeeping stuff towards the end of year. So a lot of that might have been organic, but
yeah. It's interesting that it crashed so much after, right? And then it goes so low.
I mean, it's Christmas holidays, so you're doing all your stuff. What are we looking at here? December 22nd.
Nobody's touching their
3rd.
stuff. Christmas, yeah.
Oh wow, Christmas was actually still pretty high.
What's funny? Because Arctic Mind always references Christmas as like the date that for testing, right? Like when he talks about the Visa network, obviously. And when he talks about designing Monero to be able to withstand a big influx and then adjust, right, and be able to have spikes. It's funny, he always uses Christmas as the Christmas time as the moment that Monero would be able to handle. So it is interesting. I don't know. I mean, looking back, do we always see a spike around that time?
No, we've seen other Christmases where it drops off significantly. Let's go to the 3-year. Actually, go to the all-time view. We'll just go to the modern era of Monero.
What do you think, Bawdy? Like, you think we're gonna enter a new normal here in terms of Monero transactions for 2024, right? Like 20K seemed to be the number for Monero in terms of daily transactions for the last year. You think we level up nicely here? Like, do we see that happening soon? Like a nice move up in terms of daily average on a consistent basis?
I think it's reasonably possible. Yeah, that could happen. Although we have to ask ourselves if Binance and other exchanges delist Monero, does that cause the number of transactions to drop off? Right? Because that will be less liquidity. So there might be a transaction drop off. It might be really interesting if they delist and it doesn't drop off.
Right. Or it goes up, right? Because I mean, that would be the most bullish thing, right? And maybe that would be because if people want to continue to speculate on Monero, or if they were currently obtaining it through Binance and they're using other means, those other means will probably involve more on-chain transactions, right? Potentially.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's definitely possible. Maybe there would be less batching of transactions. So
Yeah.
You would see more individual transactions. That could be the case. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that would be fantastic if they delisted and we saw the transactions go up. It's interesting because Monero's had like pretty consistent transactions for a long period of time now, like on the scale of years. We're basically looking between say 15 and 30,000 transactions is like pretty closely defined, like the center point there at 20. And it's interesting because our price has also been fairly consistent at that level. So yeah, just something to think about maybe.
Yeah.
We didn't want to quite leave on Monero yet. As much as I don't want to show this chart, yeah, we're like Monero Bitcoin is now, I mean, we're at 0.034. Like this is the worst it's been since since the bull market. So
yeah, we're getting
yeah, I mean, it is what it is, guys. What are you gonna do? Like we just broke down there. And then also you've got the dominance here. Actually, let's pull Bitcoin out of this chart and let's just look at
so and I apologize if you said this before because I was kind of tweeting over here. So what is your current take with regards to the Binance delisting and Monero? Like, you think we're seeing an impact from that? Do you think that's already priced in, or it's getting priced in now, or there is no pricing in it? Like, what is your overall take there with the Binance?
I guess I don't really have a take, to be honest. I suspect that the people behind the scenes in Binance, and now probably with some sort of covert, thinly veiled, heavy-handed Kraken as well, I have to imagine that there's probably some shit going on behind the scenes, and they're probably trying to consider what their best options are. It's possible that Binance has a big obligation of Monero that they can't really meet, and they could be looking at ways, because like the government doesn't want Monero listed. It's funny because we finally agree on something. They want it delisted. We want it delisted, but they might be trying to say, how can we do this without pumping the price by having to acquire all the Monero that we need? Now, remember last show, I said that there is the possibility that they might try and like put price pressure on. They might really try and skew things in a particular direction to try and acquire that Monero on the cheap, to try and get as much of it as they can to fill their order books or to fill their obligations so that they can delist it. I think it's possible that the reason they vacillated on like saying, hey, we're going to delist you, and then, well, we're reconsidering now, but you got to be good now. They might be doing that to try and jack the market around in such a way that they're able to acquire more Monero. They're probably, again, assuming that they aren't fully reserved now, they need a way to acquire enough Monero to pay out their obligations before they delist it.
Yeah. So that so they're trying to manipulate it downwards so they can grab some cheap Monero to essentially be able to come up with the Monero that they owe people, right? But what do you think of? I mean, I don't know. I'm seeing more viewers than ever. We're at a solid 40, over 40 viewers, which we've gotten before. We got up to 50, but I see a tick up. I feel like we're starting to see the beginning of the Streisand effect, like because it's Monero is so under attack here. I think it is starting to get the word out more with regards to Monero. Is my anecdotal take. I don't know. What do you think, Bawdy? You think we're seeing that? I mean, did we just lose Bawdy? Shit. Just lost him. Yeah, guys, like and share. We're at a solid 47 viewers. We got a bunch of people on Twitter as well. I think a lot of eyes are coming to Monero right now as people see how it's being treated differently than any other crypto. It's being treated the way you would expect a true digital cash crypto to be treated by the state. Did we lose everybody? Tony, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Mm-hmm.
Okay. What happened with Bawdy? Yeah,
I have no idea.
We'll see if it comes back. Tony, what do you think of my take there?
I was actually away from it. Sorry, can you repeat that again? Yeah.
I was talking to Bawdy. We're talking about obviously the delisting and whatnot, and how Binance. He's saying how Binance is maybe trying to intentionally drive the price down, since these allegations that they're running a paper Monero scheme, right? So they're going to need to have Monero to pay it out. But I'm also saying, just anecdotally, I'm seeing an uptick in Monero being more widely talked about in the crypto community. And I think it's this kind of Streisand effect where Monero is really being treated differently than any other crypto. And I think more and more people are realizing this.
Oh, yes, I agree 100%. One thing, Bawdy said he's coming back in 30 seconds, by the way.
Okay.
World kernel panic. Yeah, but I agree with what he said. Monero is the only unique one from the whole space. And actually, we're going to discuss during the news section today how Binance is actually going to delist Monero. And then we're going to talk about how regulators actually prefer Zcash over Monero. So that's that as well.
Okay. Sorry about
Random dude. Usually I watch the show during the week at work. Just drop by to say hello. You're awesome. Keep it up. Thank you, man. Appreciate
Thank you, random dude.
Yeah, you're welcome to jump on live too to the viewers on stage section. Wow, we're at 50 viewers. Guys, like and share, man. This is I think Monerotopia is gonna end up being more important than we think. This is what we're learning. I mean, what we've all been out here preaching it, but we're actually starting to see this happen where we're being rejected from the mainstream. We are, being pushed away from the centralized exchanges. They're trying to cut us off. We all saw this coming down the pipe, and the goal has always been to essentially ignore that and instead focus internally among us and build out our own economy. And that's what we need to, that doesn't just happen. We need to make that happen. And it happens as simply as spreading the word about Monero and growing it among ourselves, ignoring the state, ignoring the outsiders, and just build our own Monerotopia. And then everything else will just come to fruition.
Somebody said in the YouTube comments, Monero equates to freedom. That is very powerful. And Monero has a cool vibe, rebel, from Frank.
There's no other crypto that has that vibe. It's just that they won't be, nobody will really be able to replicate it because it just comes with time. Monero has proven itself over time in terms of technology and the willingness of the community to stick to its ideals and its purpose. No other crypto has been able to match that.
And I think what's also beautiful about Monero is that it's not a flashy coin. It just does what it's supposed to do. It doesn't bend to any government or anybody at all. It just does what it's supposed to do. And it's not, doesn't have, like in some other coins, flashy name, flashy this, and then they base themselves on pumping the coin and the price, which is important because the higher the price of Monero is, that equates to usage. But Monero just does its thing. It knows it's the boss. It's not going to bend to anybody else, and it's just going to keep doing its thing. It's not going to, like previously, for example, there have been coins, like for example, Dark Coin, and after they faced regulation, pressure, they changed to Dash Coin, and then they renounced, a lot of their privacy. So most privacy coins from the space have started to bend the knee to government and the regulations, but Monero hasn't, and I don't think it's ever going to.
Definitely.
I don't even know if we could.
Yeah, I don't think we wouldn't be able to. The political will isn't there in the community to make any changes to Monero that would move it in that direction.
Can't stop. Won't stop.
Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, sorry.
You back in action. Can we bring up your charts again?
Yeah, they should be shared. I had a kernel panic.
What's going on? You guys are always messing around with your equipment too much.
I know. You just need to get a Mac and then just use that. Well, all right. So I installed a bunch of new stuff. I had to change my fan radiator configuration. This is a problem that was going to happen regardless of OS, but I had to change my fan radiator configuration so that I had more cooling, and it's noisy. I don't know if y'all can hear the low hum of fans whirring now, but anyways, I put a pillow over it because I was like, well, maybe it keeps it quieter, but then I think I caused my GPU to overheat. I was monitoring my temperatures, but I was monitoring CPU temperatures, not GPU temperatures. So I'm pretty sure. Anyways, blah blah. My kernel panicked. So I'm actually shocked at how quickly it rebooted, though. Usually kernel panics have to take like 5 minutes to dump. Anyhow.
Yeah, but we can't hear anything from your side. It's crisp clear. So
Monero needs more. Sorry to interrupt, guys. Monero needs more presence in the 2A community, Second Amendment community. Yeah, definitely agree. Send them our way, man. People are welcome to come on, talk on the show about anything. If there's any Monero related companies in the 2A community, like are we seeing that? Are we seeing guns for sale with Monero preferred?
I mean, there's guns in Bitcoin. I know they're Monero friendly as well.
Yeah, there's guns in Bitcoin. So happy to highlight those things if they're out there. Neon, just bring them over to Monerotopia.
Yep, digital armaments, physical armaments.
That's a good way.
So let's see. All right, I don't have too much here left on the price report. We were looking at Monero dominance. I don't know exactly where I left you guys, but we were looking at the Bitcoin versus Monero. Yeah, all right, we were talking about Binance. There's definitely machinations going on in the background there when it comes to, well, I say definitely, but let me rephrase. I think it's very likely. I think it's very reasonable to suspect there's machinations happening in the background there with the government and Binance, and probably Kraken now too, since they're on the ropes. But and Jesse Powell is not the CEO anymore. So like, anyways, you guys kind of closed it off nicely by saying, yep, we're gonna have to. We got to actually use Monero. We actually have to like make parallel economies and do all those things. And good, maybe the government just is forcing us to live up to our own words. So Monero dominance here. This is actually not Monero dominance because there's too much Bitcoin in that chart, right? We already know what that chart looks like. So what we did here is we took the Monero market cap and divided it by total 3, and then multiplied by some very large numbers so that my wave magic stuff still works here. But yeah, I mean, you can see that basically since November, Monero dominance relative to shitcoins has tanked significantly. And I mean, this is a sign of leverage. It's a sign of degeneracy. I mean, I bear some culpability in this chart as well. I'm not going to lie. But at the same time, like this chart was going to do this regardless of what I did. And it's like it's the fucked up thing in the way that they control the system is that they know they can push this. Let's suppose like the effect of the cabal. The cabal can move price. They can move relative prices by let's just call it 50%. And then they know that the plebs are going to take care of the rest of that 50% of the direction they want to move things, because they're going to sort of create in the minds of the masses, in the mass psychology. Of course, tabs are just crashing again. Damn it. I guess I have all kinds of technical problems today. They're going to create in the minds of the masses the direction that needs to happen, and the plebs are going to take it the rest of the way. They say, oh, well, the things are going to go that way anyway, so I might as well get on the right side of it. And that would be me, right? That would be me when I'm trading these shitcoins that I tell you guys about sometimes. I don't want to like call them all shitcoins. I mean, that's like still kind of like a maximalist holdover that I have. Some of them are shitcoins. Some of them actually might have promise to do real things that could actually like be useful in the real world, or at least in the financial world. So
guys,
since that
I got to jump in. We're over 60 viewers now, holding steady. So the like and share works, guys.
You will smash as you like and be happy.
Retweeting, and we're at or over 12 viewers on Twitter Spaces, and we're at 60 viewers on YouTube. Nice, growing. Yeah, keep retweeting. We don't do that enough, but sorry, buddy. Go ahead.
No, please. That's definitely more important than whatever I was ranting about, especially since my tab crashed. All right, so the tab crashed. I guess it's time to move on from Monero. God dang it, man. Technical problems out the ass today. Okay, so we got Bitcoin here. We got Bitcoin here, and as we've talked about, it's like riding these upper standard deviations. These are not hard resistances. It can pop above it. It's possible. I was kind of looking forward to maybe hearing, the SEC approval of the ETFs. Maybe they'll just wait until January 10th. Is it January? I think it's January 10th, which is kind of ironic. That date being right. It was January 10th. Or was it January 6th? I can't remember. What's the fake?
January 6th.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, happy fake Revolution Day, guys. Or fake
oh shit.
Whatever it was. Fake uprising rebellion day.
Never forget, guys. Never forget. It was a dark day. We almost lost democracy.
Democracy almost failed that day. Thank God for our brave fighting men and women. And also our Congress people that bravely stood up to the dude wearing horns. Or whatever happened there. All right. Yet we digress. So here's the Bitcoin chart. There's nothing special about this chart except for it's gone up a lot. I'm not convinced that it's like this is the real like time to break the all-time high. The pattern. So, and I did a little bit of looking into this this week. The pattern that happened last time, October 15th, the ETFs are announced to be approved. Most of the pump happened before that ETF announcement came, which was special. October 15th, the announcement happened. Bitcoin pumps something like 15%-ish. Actually, you know what? Why wouldn't we have the chart here? Why wouldn't I just show you? Okay. October 15th, right here. Okay, so drop a line, that vertical line, that was the day that the ETF announcement was approved. You'll see that Bitcoin pumped about 16%, 15%. And then it kind of like took a little break and then it had a secondary high. What's interesting, if we were to overlay the Bitcoin dominance, or actually let's overlay total 2. New price scale. All right, so we're going to overlay total 2. We're going to make it just be a line because the candles are silly. We're going to tell it to show us the high price. Okay. So you'll notice that, Bitcoin getting the ETF announcement, it was like the first pump. Total followed and it continued following for almost a month. There's about a 3 to 4 week period here. And then total 2, everything else but Bitcoin peaked significantly about a month afterwards. I mean, Bitcoin also got a slightly higher high, but total 2 is what really happened. So if the pattern is going to play out here, if they announce the approval of this ETF, expect Bitcoin to pump maybe 15%. And again, you can't just like take the fractal, quote unquote, and then overlay it on the current action and say, well, it's going to pump exactly 15% and the timeline's going to be exactly this. You can't say that, but 15% would put us right about 50,000, right? So expect Bitcoin to probably make that 50,000 area. Meanwhile, after that pump, expect Bitcoin dominance. I expect Bitcoin dominance is probably going to take a big hit to the downside. And we can go backwards and look here on what happened. This right here was the Bitcoin dominance pump, which happened just a few days, like the peak there happened just a few days after the ETF announcement, and then it dropped down. So the point is that after Bitcoin ETF is approved, everyone's going to say, oh, well, now, which new ETFs is going to be approved? Obviously, they're going to be talking about Ethereum, right? They're going to shift that all into the Ethereum hype. Probably Ethereum will get a big boost, but shitcoins in general will get a big boost, right? Like that's likely what will happen. And then if history is any lesson, a major inclusion in the financial system will be a local top, at least for a few months, if not longer. So I have to think that's probably how this is going to play out. I don't see hardly anyone on Twitter or anyone out there like in the social realms speaking about how, hey, guys, remember 3 times now in the past they played us and we all got rugged. No one's talking about that. So seems to me that probably the plebs, there's going to be juice to squeeze there. Maybe some big pullback happens this next year. I personally think that would be a very good thing, a very healthy thing. If the NASDAQ and all these financial markets and everything just cooled, like chilled the fuck out for, let's just call it 5 months. I would like to see things just like roll over, pull back, take their time. I don't want to see like massive market moves here. And that would also make sense. Like if they're going to try and save some liquidity for the election, right? Maybe they want to, maybe the Biden people and the Democrats that are controlling him and giving him his medications, maybe they want to cause some kind of particular outcome. Maybe they need to save the pump until the election cycle gets closer. I don't know. I mean, those things aren't really always correlated. Like it's cheeky to say that, but those things aren't really always correlated necessarily. But this administration has been more commie controlling of everything than really almost anything we've seen since like Roosevelt. But let's see, Ethereum, Bitcoin. Should probably take a look at that because again, there will probably be some kind of shift. If the Bitcoin ETF gets approved, there will be a shift into the Ethereum ETF. So right now, like, I mean, it is really like, this is not the kind of price action that you want to see. So this is Ethereum versus Bitcoin. This is not the kind of price action you want to see. It's like bounce, bounce, bounce. Like, oh, okay, we drop below. Like this looks like a chart that might want to break down, but at the same time, the fundamentals are going to probably matter more here. than whatever the technical analysis says on this chart. This is also like, this could also just be like scare tactics trying to wash people out of their positions, and then it'll reverse to the upside. Like that ridiculously that ridiculous wick down there, that like hammer. Is it? No, it's not a hammer. Maybe it is a hammer. I can't remember. It doesn't matter. This long wick right here, if price starts to move back up, like that long wick is kind of a bottoming signal, to be honest. A lot of washout happening there. So yeah, anyways, that's what I would be thinking there about Ethereum versus Bitcoin. I still am on my theory that that Ethereum is going to outperform Bitcoin overall in the next big cycle. It's just so useful in many different ways for like DeFi and leverage and all of the crazy stuff, that we're like trying not to be in Monero. Let's see, man, I guess that should be about it for today. I think I've ranted long enough on price topics. So
yeah, that was a good one. Covered a lot there, man. You think we'll see a Monero Bitcoin hammer on a low? Like you think there needs to be a moment there with the Monero to Bitcoin ratio?
I guess, man. I mean, I would expect very much a wick. Yeah, probably like a big wick down. It would be hard for me to think that a large wick to the downside is not in the cards for Monero Bitcoin, which is probably an opportunity to buy, especially like, let's just say in the next 1 to 4 weeks, if there's a major wick down, like that's probably a huge buying opportunity. Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily believe that these prices are real. I think there's a lot of leverage happening here. Leverage happens when plebs are buying. So if there's like 20% of buying happening, there's 80% of leverage out there to try and capitalize, right? To try and like create the best prices for for dumping on plebs. Like we just see this in crypto all the time. We see this more and more in the traditional financial markets as well. Like whatever the organic action is gets multiplied by like 5, 10, 20 times over. That's just something that happens. And Monero doesn't benefit, quote unquote benefit. It might actually be a bad thing in some ways, but Monero does not get that kind of like leverage to pump the price. It gets it accidentally, kind of like gold, as like a side factor. It's like, oh, well, okay, that happens because there's so much liquidity in the system. Some of it makes its way to Monero eventually. So yes, to answer your question, the longest way I possibly could, there's probably going to be some big wick down on the XMR BTC chart.
All right. We shall see. Neon is saying a good place for Monero talk can be a gun store or GOA or NRA conference. Yeah, I was thinking that as you guys are having this discussion here in the chat about 2A, that would be really cool to go to have Monero talk go represent at one of these conferences, just like we do at, with like these libertarian conferences. It would be cool to kind of edge into that community as well. That would be so. Yeah, if anybody has any ideas, that's how we've ended up at some of the conferences we ended up. People reach out to us, tell us to attend. If you know any good conferences we should attend, 2A related or anything that we think where there's overlap, where there's a community that maybe is not necessarily very into crypto yet, but it certainly would be one that would align with the ideals of Monero, that realize the importance of preserving a cash-like utility in the digital age. People where they're starting to wake up to that, let us know. You could email me at monerotopia@protonmail.com. Hit me up if you guys have any ideas of places where we should go and represent.
Man, that's a great idea. Going to gun shows. Like,
yeah,
that seems like such a natural fit.
I have so much fun at the libertarian conferences and stuff, because like the crypto, it's like you go to the crypto conferences, the same stuff all the time. It's nice to go just to the broader liberty movement conferences, because there's a lot of different conversations happening there, just beyond just crypto talk, So it's actually quite entertaining too.
Yeah, we need more than mad gains to make the world free.
Exactly. All right, man.
Well, thanks a lot.
Stick around if you can, and let's keep moving. Tony, you there?
Yep. Thank you, Bawdy.
Thank you, Tony. Good to see you on the show, bro.
Good to see you too, man. Thank you.
Thanks, buddy.
All right. Give me 1 second. Okay. Are we doing the guest right now?
Yes. Let's bring up the guest.
All right.
So go ahead and run the guest segment.
The Monerotopia guest segment is sponsored by Cake Wallet, store, Send, receive, and exchange your Monero and Bitcoin safely on iOS and Android too. Cake Wallet is open source, and you always control your own keys.
All right. Monero Mac, what's up?
Oh my god.
Hey guys.
Pretty cool. Hey, Monero.
My daughter wanted to say hi to Tux, but I saw that he's not here, unfortunately. So yeah, that was her saying hi.
Sorry about that. Tux isn't here today.
That was her saying hi to Tux whenever he watches the show.
That's awesome.
She loves the penguin. Can't get over it. So
yeah, I don't know. All the kids love the penguin. We got to use that for our advantage. Start brainwashing the youth about Monero.
Oh yeah, we definitely do that here in this household. That's for sure. I love the theme going on. You know, like you were talking about earlier, the concern is going mainstream and a new normal for Monero transactions. I think that our family definitely represents that new normal for sure.
Awesome, man. Yeah, tell us more. Tell us about yourself. So I guess I've seen you on Twitter before putting stuff out, but what really caught me is recently your tweet where you had recently bought a car with Monero. I think it was like a Mercedes or something.
Yeah, and it looks a lot nicer. It's an old Mercedes. Everyone was giving crap about it. Like, oh, you bought a Mercedes. Like, man, I got a good deal. It was a family deal.
Yeah, no, those are the best ones. It's like an old reliable, well-made car. I drive around in a freaking old Volvo, man. Like,
and I did turn my parents into Monero extremists. So they're like, oh yeah, we'll take Monero for it. Absolutely. And as soon as they said that, I was like, done. We're gonna do it. But yeah, I mean, I guess I would say I've known Bawdy for a little bit. He kind of got me into Monero around the time the lockdown started. I started, you know, unfortunately, like most people who didn't know anything back then, buying into a lot of stuff that made no sense. And I had known Bawdy previously. We were kind of like family friends, and he ended up telling me, hey man, you really need to check out Monero. You need to start checking out some of these privacy, the features that it has with privacy. And I had always been in the prepper community, very much questioning everything ever since pretty much 9/11 was a huge red pill for me. And ever since then, I was part of the prepper community for a long time, and always trying to, you know, stack gold, stack silver. And then when Bawdy introduced me to Monero, it definitely changed my perspective on the whole digital currency space, for sure. And when the lockdowns happened, the lockdowns obviously affected everybody. It affected my family greatly. And my family started really asking a lot more questions. That was a huge red pill for, I would say, the baby boomer generation. They saw this massive tyranny totally take over, and so many people just falling in line. And that was a huge turning point for them as well, which would, you know, inevitably lead to them being willing to accept Monero for a car. You know, so
yeah, no, I've had the same, not exact same experience, but the same kind of thing that goes on in my normal life, right outside of Monero. People start to look at you in a different way, like, all right, maybe that crazy Monero guy isn't that crazy, right? Like when we see what the government's doing, and they're like, all right, tell me more about this. Tell me more about this Monero thing. How long have you been interested in Monero? And so it was 2020 that really kind of pushed you into
it? Was 20. Well, even before then, I mean, Bawdy had been trying to, you know, tell me for a long time even before the lockdowns that, hey, like, there's more to this. You know, you really need to kind of stop being stuck in this box where it's only physical metal. And I'm all for physical metal. I think it's a great thing. But unfortunately, the way we're going, it seems like we're all going to be forced into this digital age, no matter what. And, you know, having a way of transacting in a private manner digitally makes sense. It really does. And I fought that for a long time. And thinking about going to the gun shows, I was just laughing how if you go to those gun shows, you're going to be definitely sitting there debating a lot of boomers for sure, because it's going to be but hey, that's good. You know, you'll be able to hopefully bring them onto the Monero side. You know,
would it be the first time I've debated, like going to the libertarian conferences? I ran into that a lot. I ran into a lot of gold bugs that were pretty much just anti-crypto in general, but they were open to the conversation, especially when you took them down the Monero road, right? And they're like, no, this isn't about even trying to be digital gold, although if you want to, eventually we'll arrive at that in the conversation, but just realizing that they're eliminating cash. Can we agree on that? And even the like, yeah, no, I see that. And like, oh yeah, I used to love cash. I used to, because the boomers relate to a cash world. They were so used to using cash for everything.
Right.
And now they see it's gone, and they are putting, realizing, wait a minute, they're realizing that loss in autonomy without cash, that they're completely relying on the banking system. So I think boomers, relate to cash better than even young people, right? Because they never even use cash, right? They're used to Venmo and credit cards. They don't even know like what the cash world was like and why it represents freedom, because they never really felt it, right? So talking to him about it in those terms and being like, so if we agree that cash is important and vital, and then we also agree that there's a movement towards eliminating it, they're like, and everything's going digital. They're like, yeah, can't disagree with that. We're gonna need something to replace that. And so I think it ends up being a pretty good conversation most of the time, even with the boomers.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. It's a great way to introduce people. And when it comes to these payment systems, recently, I think they put it off, the new IRS law where you have to claim $600 or more if you do business with the like Cash App, Venmo. But that's one I've been using recently. Like I have a few roommates, they like to pay me in Cash App, they like to pay me in Venmo, and I told them, I'm like, hey man, it's not enacted yet, but eventually you're gonna have, you're basically putting a target on yourself to get, to catch flack with this agency, because you're going to have another document you have to make sure you are sending out there if you choose to. But it's just makes sense to not use those payment systems. Like why use them? We could do something else, right? And that's something that I've been trying to talk with them recently about.
Yeah, I mean, we're trying, the focus we're trying to do over here is the building out the Monero circular economy, right? And just get people to start using it. So you're walking the walk. Like, so granted, it was family members, but you still did it, right? So I think it's an important lesson. People should try to learn from you, right? You took the initiative. You got friends and fam into Monero. It took some time, took some realization of their own, but eventually they were willing to receive it for selling their car, which is really cool. So what advice would you give to people out there who are like, shit, how could I get,
Well, definitely be willing to not only have someone transact in Monero, but they're typically like my family members that are willing to do it. I had to hold their hand and show them, hey, how to use the GUI wallet. That's the one I use, at least, GUI and Cake, and how to properly store your keys. Like, you don't want to just have funds sitting on these hot wallets. If you have thousands of dollars, that's just obviously a recipe for disaster. So be willing to not only like talk about it, but also guide them and show them. A lot of people, they're just uncomfortable with it. They're willing, they like the idea of it, but they're just uncomfortable with it. It can be kind of scary to some of these older people, right? So, but if they can log on, put in a passphrase or a PIN and a passphrase with like a hardware wallet, that kind of simplifies it. And if you walk them through that, that helps as well, but also I think, also being willing to go on to some of like Monero Market or hopefully XMR Bazaar. Looking forward to that when that comes out.
Yeah, hopefully. It's any day now.
Yeah.
We are.
But like just, maybe take 5 to 10 minutes and think, hey, I'm about to make a purchase for something I need. Can I, buy this through Monero Market or what's the other one? Monerica, I think, is the other one I was looking at. Or can I just, find a friend I can buy something with through Monero, right?
Yeah, like I'm going to be buying. I tweeted this out the other day. I had bought my daughter a laptop for Christmas. Santa brought her other things. I got her a laptop, and she didn't really love it because it was kind of like it was a heavy laptop because it had like crazy cards in it because like the guy so was like, is she game? I'm like, maybe she might be gaming or something. So it wasn't practical to begin with, but now I'm returning it and I'm gonna buy. I don't know if you saw. There's a provider now that's selling, and they're very focused on making customized, like privacy oriented laptops. They accept Monero.
Nova Custom, right?
Yeah.
Yes, that's the next one I'm getting.
I'm gonna try to get them on the show. Maybe we get them as a sponsor. I mean, we're already getting the word out for them anyway. But out of a real need, I'm gonna use them. I'm gonna use Monero. I'm excited for that. You know, that's a nice big purchase using Monero for.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, we'll try to get him.
Tux again. He's the one who told me about Nova Custom, and you can also there's at least one series that you can use cubes and all of that.
Yeah, that's exciting. But yeah, that's the whole drive with me with XMR Bazaar. It's also just like to me personally use it as a tool now where I'll be able to live off Monero, right? Because I could go on there. I could also request things like, oh, looking to buy this. Anybody want to fulfill that? And that's what I'm hoping really happens with it. It becomes a place where people go to, like, not even if they have something to sell, but if they want something to buy, they come there and like put the word out, and then maybe somebody else steps up like, you know what, I could sell that for Monero, and I'm looking, you know. That's what we got to do, guys. That's what we got to do, and it's not going to happen on its own. It has to come from us doing it, and the only thing holding us back is the government trying to scare us out of it. Right? That's really the only thing at the end of the day. But there's not much more they can do other than bark.
Yep. They can't stop us all. Remember that.
Yeah, and we're on the right side. We're on the right side of history, and what we're doing, I believe, aligns with the ideals of America and what this country was built upon, and the Constitution itself. I mean, obviously, there's plenty of examples of America not following the Constitution, but if you know, you could proceed knowing that you're on the right side of history, in my opinion.
Absolutely. I think that personally, I mean, we've seen a lot of horrific, just in recent history, horrific things happening within our leadership, and it's unfortunate. But the average person is not like that. They do want to be free. They want to have instruments to use that can promote freedom. And but yeah, it's gonna, unfortunately, I hate to say it, especially, I mean, we have young kids. Like, it's gonna probably get worse before it gets better. And the ability to transact outside of that system, like the lockdown showed us. I mean, when that I still wake up and I can't believe that stuff happened. The area I live near a pretty big city, and it was completely dead. There was nobody out there except for maybe me and a biker gang. And it's like, holy crap! Like, everyone bought into this thing.
Everybody complied. Yeah,
everyone complied, and it's like, all right, well, what can I do to prepare other than just like physical preparations? Obviously, financial preparation is a huge part of that, you know. And other than just stacking the items we already talked about, I mean, what else can I do? And what else can I do for the community to help others prepare for that as well, so that if something happens like that again, we can feel a lot more secured, you know. And hopefully that maybe it eventually leads to a continuation of this info war that we can, you know, not let something like that happen again. It was just unbelievable. And that's still, the fact that everyone complied with that, I think says a lot. And I think it was a test. It was a test for us to know kind of where we are, where we stand as Americans, or as, you know, wherever you are in the world, to not go along with these people, not follow this system, right? So,
yeah, what's scary is, like you said, it was a test, right? So what are they going to do next? And you know, and they saw the first one, like, oh, this worked pretty well. People are even more obedient than we expected. Right. Let's proceed to stage 2.
Well, you mentioned earlier being rejected from the mainstream. I think that's just something you have to accept. You asked, what advice can you give? Like, don't be afraid to walk into a place without a mask on. You know, like, be willing to stand up for yourself. Be willing to be rejected from the system, because you're going to have to. I mean, if you want things to get better in the long run, you're going to have to do the hard things in the short term.
Right. You have to normalize what they're trying to say isn't normal, right?
Exactly.
among ourselves. Using Monero, guys, is completely normal, right? We're out here, Monerotopia. It's all positive. There's nothing wrong with it. And so, yeah, we got to control the narrative, at least among ourselves. They're gonna try to spin their own, but we really need to continue to drive home what the true narrative is, so people can hear that.
Yeah, and they'll continue to try to demoralize us. You know, that's the information that's coming in that we're being blasted with. It's part of that's all psychological to try to demoralize you every day. You know, so you can't let it get to you. You got to be able to speak life into others. You know, speak good affirmations to others during hard times, and guide other people. And I think that's coming together as a community and for others is a huge part of this. You know.
Monero Mac, man, thank you so much. Any other general statements you want to make? And I'm hoping you stick around. We'll do the news and we'll have viewers on stage. But yeah, anything you want to put out there at this moment?
I just want to thank you, Doug. You and your family have done so much for us, and being willing to publicly go out there and Monerotopia and everything. And thank Bawdy, thank Tux. And thank you for allowing me to come on. You know, it's awesome. And my daughter can't believe that this is actually happening. We as a family, we pretty much watch this show very often. So I just wanted to thank you guys, man, and look forward to contributing in any way possible.
Fantastic, man. Yeah, thanks. Thank you for jumping on. And yeah, as people know, people that listen, anybody's welcome to come up on stage as long as you keep it productive, keep it digital cash related, liberty related, and the stage is yours. Everybody's welcome. Monero Mac, please stick around if you can.
All right, thank you,
Tony. Let's run the news and leave Monero Mac up on stage if you can, and maybe he'll want to chime in on some of these news events as well.
All right, let's go ahead.
And now for our weekly news segment.
Wow,
that was loud.
Okay.
All right, what do we got?
If anybody wants to hop on, go ahead, and then we can probably discuss it together. So I see Alaska.
Okay, yeah. Let's run that segment then too. So run the viewers on stage. And if you can, put the link in the chat. I should be able to do that too.
Okay.
It's the Viewers on Stage segment. It's that time where we invite you, the viewers, up on stage to comment on anything you've heard so far today, ask the guest a question, or maybe talk about one of the news topics. Come on down.
All right, guys. It's that time of the show. Anybody that wants to come up?
2 in 1. Okay, so let me
put the link in the chat. I got it right there. Boom.
You got it? Okay.
Yep.
Okay, awesome. Okay.
So yeah, let's bring Alaska in on up. Bawdy, I don't know if you want to. I'll bring Bawdy up. I guess if you decide what he wants to do there. And
anybody else wants to hop on, go ahead.
We got short wave.
Awesome. It's a party.
He's become a regular. I love it.
Awesome.
All right, let's go, Tony. What do we got? And anybody else show up anytime, and we'll try to get you on stage.
All right. We actually got some really interesting news for this week, and also, guys, before we get into the news section, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, you share. That helps a lot. Leave a comment. These things help a lot, so make sure you do that.
You know what? I was thinking of doing some. Tell me if this makes sense. If we tell people when they leave a comment to leave a Monero address, and I'll tip my favorite comments. I'll tip any comments I think are good if you leave a Monero address with the comment. I'm gonna try that.
Okay.
A little experiment here.
Okay.
So if you just like spam and leave a Monero address, I'm probably not going to tip you. But if you tip, say something that's productive or at least relevant, I'll send you a small tip for your comment to encourage participation.
Okay. Well, I hope, and in the same time, I don't hope that you run out of Monero.
Yeah, in the regular YouTube comments, guys, not in the in this live chat here because I won't be able to respond to that. I'm talking about in like the YouTube like comment section, the static comments. All right, Tony. Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So the first thing that we're gonna discuss is from ShopinBit. So this is the usage stats for December 2023. This is the volume. Bitcoin is at 46%, XMR 41%, Lightning Network not even 1%, and Fiat 11%. So XMR to Bitcoin ratio is pretty good in ShopinBit. Then let's go over the coin cards. Bitcoin 38%, XMR 29%, so it's pretty close to Bitcoin. Ethereum 17%, USDC 9%, Lightning Network 1.5%, Dogecoin 1%. Nobody's using Dash, nobody's using Solana, DAI, or anything like that. So
I love Zcash isn't even on the list. They don't even put it on the list. They don't even give it a 0. Jeez.
Yeah. So it seems like on most websites that accept crypto for gift cards, Bitcoin and Monero seem to be.
No, wait. Go back to the coin card. When you look at it broken down by America, though, right? U.S. Can you maybe he usually tweets that with it? Maybe it's yeah. Try to like view.
I think this is the overall. I don't think
he usually tweets at the red. He shows overall, and then he shows like U.S. and then he shows Canada. Broken down by U.S. or Canada. Maybe what he tweeted there. Wait, no.
Yeah, I'm trying to see.
No, that's a tweet there. Yeah.
Maybe in the.
No, you're in the tweet itself. There's that other one that he mentions. No, all right.
No, I didn't see any when I looked into it. So I think this is just like the general.
Yeah. Okay.
They didn't provide. But then another thing from Coincards, they're feeling bullish, so they might add virtual credit cards to Coincards.
Oh, nice.
Which is really nice.
That's always nice to see. Be yet another way to spend your Monero.
So they just have the debit card option right now. Is that right?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah, and then obviously they have other gift cards, but yeah, I guess they haven't had this the Visa, the MasterCard, the virtual credit card. So
yeah,
really nice.
I had it. Yeah,
Cake has it.
Yep.
But yeah, that's sweet.
Okay, next thing. This is really interesting. So, and some of us were expecting it, and it came. So I guess AI generated KYC videos. So you can essentially just generate KYC, and then be able to use that to get into whatever you want, Coinbase, Binance, whatever requires KYC. Now, somebody wrote something interesting in the comment section. It's not over. They will start to ask live proofs now. Inject, sell the solution. So
they say inject the problem, sell the solution. Leaves will follow.
Yeah, I don't know. The way I'm thinking about it, it's kind of interesting. So I guess maybe there's gonna be they can inject something in your body, and then that's gonna be the proof that this is you, and that it's not some AI generated KYC or something.
I don't know. It's not that far. Nothing is that far fetched. I mean, you hear this talk on both sides of the political spectrum. You know, politicians leading on the Democratic side and on the talking about this need to essentially get rid of the ability to be anonymous. Right? There's concern there and connect. They want to KYC our identity, our usage of the internet. So starting with social media, but the internet in general, they don't want people to be able to function anonymously on the internet, especially with social media and obviously with crypto as well. They've made that very clear. Obviously Senator Warren is leading the way in that charge, but you're seeing like a lot of other like Nikki Haley, right? So you might, who knows, she might become the main Republican candidate if certain people get their way. And she said some ridiculous things about, she wanted to outlaw the ability to be anonymous on social media.
Oh my God.
These are the people that are going to be leading us So it's not that wild to think that they might try to go to extreme measures to limit our ability to avoid KYC.
So what I was thinking about it right now, what if when people will have Neuralink, and then you're going to have an ID with the Neuralink, and then they're not going to want a picture of you anymore because you can just generate one with AI. They're going to want your ID from your Neuralink that is in your brain. And that's how you're going to identify that is you.
Right.
That could be something too. I hope Elon Musk will put an approval to that, but yeah, it's not too far-fetched. It's not too far-fetched. Now, Binance placed XMR in ready-to-delist zone. So let's go ahead and go on the article. So this is actually really interesting. Essentially, they extended the monitoring tag to include more tokens. So those are Aragon, Firo, Keeper, V1, MDEX, Mobile Coin, Reef, Vibe, Monero, Zcash, Horizon. I assume Zcash and all the rest of them are going to get out of this monitoring tag, and then Monero is not going to escape it because it's not going to comply.
Mm-hmm.
So two things that are really interesting. Tokens with the monitoring tag exhibit notably higher volatility and risks compared to other listed tokens. The fact that they said higher volatility and risks, not or.
And or at least, yeah.
So they're assuming that Monero is volatile, which is not. It was really stable.
Yeah.
And then risks compared to other listed tokens. So you can compare the risk, quote unquote, risk that Monero brings to all the other ones. Then if you look below, Binance will conduct periodic project reviews and decide if the monitoring tag and the C tag should be added to or removed from tokens as per its latest findings. These criteria are considered during the review. 1, commitment of team to project. Okay, we have that. Level, it gets funny. Level and quality of development activity. Got it. Trading volume and liquidity. Got it. Stability and safety of network from attacks. Got it. Network/smart contract stability. Sure. Level of public communication. Yep, pretty strong. Responsiveness to our periodic due diligence requests.
I don't think we're going to do too well on that one.
This one, no. Evidence of unethical, fraudulent conduct or negligence. Well, I guess.
Oh my God.
That's if we don't comply. And contribution to a healthy and sustainable crypto ecosystem. So I guess we failed these three, especially because I guess we're not contributing to a healthy and sustainable crypto ecosystem because we're not complying.
I mean, they talk about these things like cryptocurrencies are companies. And
Yes.
so it's like the one that is actually the most crypto-like and cryptocurrency-like and is decentralized, like, is the one that doesn't really pass their test. Like, we need, a CEO that's going to respond to us and listen to us when we need to change things in the protocol. Yeah, that does not exist with Monero.
It doesn't. So you want to talk to the CEO? There's no CEO. You gotta talk to a lot of anonymous people. So there's no such thing.
Yes, we're not as organized in that respect. Like Zcash, right? We don't have a centralized entity that goes along with the coin that's there to be contacted.
Go right ahead and delist us. We'll just use ETH XMR atomic swaps from what was that lady's name? The talk of Monerotopia.
Yeah. Oh my God, Amy. Yeah.
Elizabeth.
Elizabeth. That's it.
Yes, Elizabeth Banks, right? Yeah. Yes.
But again, we should actually go on Binance and just tweet this and ask for reasoning. Higher volatility and risks compared. Where is the high volatility? There's no such thing in Monero. It's not highly volatile.
Yeah,
but
obviously, now it is that they're they're threatening to delist it. Now you're seeing the volatility.
Exactly.
A product of them.
Yeah, but this is interesting. So, but okay, let's make some predictions. Let's make it interesting. So, how many of these do you think will get out of the monitoring tag? Obviously, Monero is going to be delisted. Like, we're not, because it's not going to comply. But how many out of these do you guys think that they're going to get out of the monitoring tag? I think Zcash is going to be out. and not be
Yeah,
delisted.
I think Zcash is gonna stay on Binance, right? And not
Zcash and Firo. I think they're complying.
Yeah.
Yes, I think so.
A lot of these other ones I really don't know well enough to even say anything about them, but
same.
if anything, they might just they're just like insignificant. So maybe they'll just get delisted for that.
If anybody knows more about these other coins, make sure you leave a comment on YouTube. And
Mobile Coin, was that a fork of Monero?
I do believe so. I want to say it was a fork of Monero for Signal.
Yeah,
for the Signal private messenger.
Yep. Yeah. So go ahead in the YouTube section if anybody knows more about these, or if you'd like to drop in your prediction. That's going to be interesting. So write it down on the YouTube section, and then we're going to pull it up and we can discuss.
I mean, the other thing too is interesting, right? If this was all just a charade, like Bawdy was alluding to, right? That they needed a way to mess with the Monero price, so they threaten a delisting. They cause volatility, gives them the chance to buy it more Monero. Maybe this was all a charade, right? And at the end of the day, they'll leave Monero on the exchange, and it'll just have this tag associated with it.
Maybe, but
with always that looming threat of that it could be delisted any day, right? Kind of like China, when China banned Bitcoin multiple times, and then eventually it stopped having the effect on the market.
I put a post on Mastodon the other day when this whole thing happened, and I'm like, congratulations to those who sold. I was talking about Bitcoin at the time, so it was like, congratulations to those who sold Bitcoin. BlackRock appreciates you.
Exactly.
I don't know if you guys remember, but I think it was like 4 or 5 months ago, Bawdy and I were talking about like the next logical step for them to push the price down was to threaten delistings.
Mm-hmm.
And here it is at a time where they're trying to create a gap in like the Bitcoin Monero ratio. They're trying to cover a whole bunch of shorts, was another prediction that we had. And at the same time, they are loudly proclaiming that they have this desire to delist, but they're also not delisting because they have to be able to buy the Monero, right? And so we've been talking about like a delisting for 2-3 weeks now, and most of the crypto community is just slurping it up like, oh, the delisting is coming, it's gonna happen, it's gonna, but wasn't it like 6 months ago or 5 months ago when you were talking about XMR Bazaar and you had first brought up the idea of being able to request something in exchange for Monero, right? Mm-hmm. And I said, most of the people in, for example, Alaska who want to on-ramp onto Monero, who would never, ever, ever put their information into an exchange website or anything like that. I mean, they'll do cash, anytime. They have been so hungry for a way for them to sell goods and services. Like a really good example that anyone can do up here when they want cash is they just do like firewood or whatever, right? People selling firewood for Monero would be like a giant like on-ramp in Alaska, right? And a platform like XMR Bazaar would be huge. So the thing is you see how they all connect though, where they're this bloviating, we're going to delist you, be afraid, be very afraid. It's basically like them threatening to shoot their own foot, right? They're like, we are so going to cut our foot off if you guys don't do what we want you to do and get that price down, right? Meanwhile, we've already come up with solutions for this stuff. But it kind of ties into the first story about the Lightning Network. And the Lightning Network just drives me absolutely insane. And I'd say probably for the last 4 or 5 months I've pretty much always hated it since the first time I used it, but it's just gotten worse and worse in my mind as I've watched it become less and less usable. This idea that Lightning Network is going to solve any of the Bitcoin problems. In fact, I don't know of one that it doesn't make worse, right? But the idea that Joe Normie is going to be able to figure out how to start opening up node channels on their Lightning wallets and get, and be able to make transactions privately through the Lightning Network at some point of sale system. This isn't a Bitcoin conference, people. Like, these people are expecting to use one transaction a week in Bitcoin, and they're supposed to know about open channels and how to find a secure like node operator. You have to be so delusional if you think that Lightning Network is going to solve anything, right? And then on top of that, look at how much it's used right now. The places that crypto is actually used to buy stuff, they can't break 2%. Bitcoin Core is still being used way more than Lightning Network for individual transactions. That, oh, it's a way around high fees, and it's a way. It's like, well, nobody's using it. Nobody, I mean, even most Bitcoin enthusiasts will be like, well, I'll admit, yes, a lot of the time I have trouble using the Lightning Network. And wasn't it Seth for Privacy like 3 weeks ago? Is like, I consider myself like an aficionado of this stuff, and I can't even get Lightning Network to work a lot of the time. And it's like, at what point do you throw in the towel and say, okay, this shit is broken. It's never going to work. It's going to take more effort to fix it than it is to just like abandon this project entirely. But they've sunk so much time and money into pretending like it's going to fix something. It would just be asinine, right?
Yeah. Well, obviously what you do is you give them...
Go ahead. Sorry.
Obviously, you give them custodial solutions like Wallet of Satoshi, and they don't own their crypto anymore. That's the obvious answer.
And what a name, right? Wallet of Satoshi, the custodial wallet. Like, if he's not dead rolling in his grave, then he's probably trying to figure out who to murder that came up with that name, right? Like,
Satoshi is holding your coins. I'm having Paul Stork on the show, I think this coming week. He's adamantly opposed to, I wouldn't say opposed to Lightning, but he's really been one of the strong voices pointing out all the flaws, and he's a Bitcoin dev. I don't know if you guys have heard of him. Paul Stork, Alaskanon. Do you know him?
I think I heard him talking with there was like a interview with the Ronin Dojo guys, and then
I'll throw out a tweet because I'd love to get people's input on what I should be asking them, because I honestly don't follow it that closely. It's just I'm focused on Monero. All I know is it's not working as intended.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like that from what I'm witnessing is that it's that idea is really growing among Bitcoiners, right? Like there seems to be a growing movement there. People are like, wait a minute, does Lightning really, like,
it's work? Been so long now, but it had to be like way back in 2013 or something, when like the idea of layer 2 solutions became like all the rage. And it was also when there was talk about like, well, you could use blockchain analytics to like eliminate the privacy of Bitcoin and all this stuff. And it was pretty much when a lot of us started to be like, I don't think Bitcoin is going to be the answer, right?
Do you think we get to a point like where Lightning is talked about as, oh man, remember that fucking attempt? Remember that? Like,
well, I mean, isn't it already?
It goes down as like one of the,
It's. I honestly think that it is already, and I think that it's a huge blind spot in some of the people who consider themselves believers, right? They're having a serious issue coming to terms with the fact that something that they believe that would eventually come around, all that's happening is you're getting kind of, I mean, we could call it like the Windows effect, right? Where Windows is becoming so bloated and it's becoming so many software elements that are layered on top of each other, right? Where the minute you put it on a computer, just like the minute you put Lightning Network onto Bitcoin, you're adding so many things that are a problem, right? Like, and it's the overhead of learning how to use Lightning is absolutely ridiculous, right? Like, I was fortunate enough to be on a call with Tux, and a guy came over and he was like, yeah, I remember that Monero you were talking to me about. And he, and I introduced him to Tux, and he was sitting there on a call. And this man is 90 years old, and he came over to get a graphene phone, right? And he's like, I'd also like to learn about Monero. In 3 sentences, I explained to him how it worked. And in 2 sentences, I explained to him what the utility would be. And then it took about 5 minutes to get him to actually use Monero in a transaction, right? If you tried to teach the average normie about how to use Lightning, it would never work. There's just no way. It would never work.
That would be a good video to make. Just go out on the street, like onboard people to Monero, get them using it, teach them from zero versus trying to like go the Lightning route.
You realize you've kind of already made that video, Doug.
No, but do it versus Lightning. Like show the two different approaches.
That would be like a 2-hour video of people asking, like, I thought we were doing Bitcoin. What's this Lightning? Well, why do I need that? I'm like, okay, well, how does it work? And then they're just like eyes glaze over, like, I gotta go now. Like,
kind of. But Monero's got to start focusing on the remittance market too. You know, I mean, obviously, I know where people are doing.
But when we're in Mexico, that's like pretty much 80% of what I was talking to the locals about. Like, you know, you yourself may not be in the remittances business, but you know, a lot of your neighbors and friends would be very interested in realizing that this is a thing. And honestly, I shot myself in the foot because I think that was the reason why a lot of them wouldn't sell me Monero at the end of the conference.
Tony, keep it moving.
One thing that I want to say before we keep moving, I really love Alaska Anna's approach to explain in as few sentences as possible how Monero works, because it just works very simply and you don't need to overly complicate it. So if you do it this way and you explain it in a very simple way, people would be turned on to Monero. And then even if they're not going to use Monero now, at least if you put the seed that it's a form of money that you can use that nobody can see what you do with it, and that is completely private. FBI, CIA, nobody can get into it, and you're protected by it. And like they don't even need to download Cake Wallet or Monero Wallet or get Monero in that instant. If you just plant that seed, eventually they're going to think about it.
Oh, I had another one this week that I know we're trying to move, but I really wanted to share this because I'd used it before, but it was the first time I used it in the presence of a feminist, right? And I couldn't believe how well it works. So if you've ever heard the great equalizer argument about guns, there's a famous quote about the real purpose of gunpowder is to make every man tall, right? And the idea is like, you know, a 5'2" woman is just as dangerous with a firearm as like a 6'4", 300-pound man, right? The idea of a great equalizer. Mm-hmm. Well, I didn't realize how much this mattered to feminists, but I was like, you know, a woman trying to protect her wealth or trying to escape an abusive relationship, the one thing about Monero that's absolutely incredible is the fact that it cannot be stolen. And no one can verify whether or not you even have it, right? And and this chick probably just hates me, right? And I saw her eyes light up when she realized, like, oh, wait a minute, like this is money that acts as a great equalizer. This is money that would allow the most vulnerable people to prevent from being exploited. And I didn't even have to point out how, like, you know, the government is the problem and all that stuff. Of course, she's thinking about like these evil men cannot steal this poor woman's money or whatever, but it doesn't matter. The great equalizer argument seems to work really well for some people that might be on the fence about its utility.
That is a great universal point to make. I mean, that's what encryption is at the end of the day too, right? It's a great equalizer. So the government fears it. Puts the power back into the people's hands. I see Drunk Dial Me. I think I added you to the stage, or I'll add you again.
Please hop on. Yeah. But you know which coin is not going to do all of those? Zcash. So Zcash compliant privacy coin model is dead in the water. It doesn't work anymore. That's what Cypher said.
Drunk Dial Me. I muted your mic just because it sounded loud, but yeah, speak up when you want to.
Okay. So the Winklevoss twins, regulators more comfortable with Zcash than Monero, they said, obviously we listed Zcash, said a long time Bitcoin advocates, we didn't attempt to list Monero, and we felt that Zcash was a privacy coin that we could get our regulators comfortable with. And somebody's under the name of Zork said, in order to provide the world of privacy, one has to be compliant. And then something by Zcash Maximalist. Yes, ZKP can increase a certain level of financial risk from money laundering. This is why ECC has always worked with the government. Zcash has both transparent and private functions. Zcash is always prepared with technology and philosophy for the future. So regulators do prefer Zcash over Monero.
Yeah, I mean that's an old article, but still, that's the ethos over there.
Mm-hmm.
Hey guys, drunk dial me.
Hey, what's going on, man?
Hey,
I'm just dropping in to propose a hashtag Monero squeeze, since we're talking about the sexes covering their shorts and trying to suppress the price because they're illiquid because of their fraud, their paper Monero. Kind of play off of that silver squeeze hashtag and the Wall Street bets familiarity.
Yeah.
I'm all about it, but I worry that we might be a little too late. I think that they already did their price pushing enough to at least cover some of the paper, and I think that they can dollar over the rest of it. However, it would be a useful propaganda piece. This is one of those situations where Monero's distributed nature makes it difficult to rally the troops quickly. And it was one of the reasons why I was proposing like having, a set goal as a like annualized goal and like a 6-month goal. I don't remember when that was, like last week or the week before. Now, as a propaganda piece, it would be amazing, but I would be surprised if they haven't covered a lot of their paper short problems. I think they don't wait for the price to go down as much as they used to, because these verbal diarrhea weapons of theirs are becoming less effective, and they know it.
Yeah, I was proposing for the propaganda gains. We can pair it with Monero Run. So hashtag Monero Run, hashtag Monero Squeeze. for the future, because we know this stuff is going to be happening again in cycles.
Get it out there.
All right, let's talk about Bank of Spain now. So this is interesting. Bank of Spain essentially wants to make their own CBDC separate from the digital euro. So Spain's central bank, Banco de España, has chosen its collaborators a year after publishing an open call for partners to participate in central bank digital currency tests. On January 3rd, the central bank published a resolution announcing its partnership with Bank, Abanca, and Adhera blockchain. Essentially, and this is interesting. So the pilot of the wholesale CBDC will take place in the next 6 months and will feature the simulation of the processing and settlement of interbank payments with a single tokenized wholesale CBDC and by exchanging several wholesale CBDCs issued by different central banks. Essentially, the Spanish CBDC program is unique as it was publicly stated to be independent of the digital euro project that would cover all economies in the Eurozone if implemented. So it's interesting how they're working on their own CBDC separate to the digital euro. And I wonder what's going to happen to the countries that are not part of the Eurozone. So for example, Romania is not part of the Eurozone, and I hope that it's not going to be part of it. Are we going to have the Romanian CBDC? Are we going to cover that on the news eventually? That's going to be interesting. I don't think it's going to come anytime soon. So it'll be interesting if the countries from the Eurozone will have their own CBDCs as well, besides the digital euro. And then what's going to happen to the countries that are not part of the Eurozone, like Albania? And are they going to have their own CBDCs? Albania is actually going to be, the moment Albania is going to trend towards more digital money, that's when I think things will get dark, because Albania is so cash reliant. When I was there like 2 years ago, I couldn't even use my card at all in most places. It's just cash only everywhere.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, like cash heavies. And it's better to use their currency too. But there were many times in which I had money, but just in my card, and then I didn't have any more cash, so I couldn't even get anything to drink or anything. So that's going to be interesting in the future. Now, the next one is on the right to a self-hosted wallet, crypto laws Congress should pass in 2024. This is from Nicholas Anthony. Essentially, Nicholas wrote five, let's say, New Year's resolutions for the government that he would like to have implemented, and I think we will as well. Let's see if they're actually going to come to fruition, any of them. The first one would be that Congress should formally establish that the Federal Reserve does not have the authority to launch a central bank digital currency. The second, Congress should rein in the Federal Reserve's activity in general, although the law requires the Federal Reserve to recoup its costs when it launches a new initiative. Whether that's happening can be an open question. The Fed now is actually like a really expensive project. It costs around $500 million to develop. I didn't know that. Third, Congress should clarify what exactly the term legal tender means in practice. Far too often, people are confused by the term and make the mistake of thinking that others are required to accept US currency whenever it is presented. In reality, the dollar's legal tender status only denotes its acceptability for the payment of taxes, fines, and contracts. In fact, the Federal Reserve itself addressed this confusion on its frequently asked questions page. Fourth, Congress should prevent any agency from restricting the use of self-hosted wallets. Holding cryptocurrency in a self-hosted wallet is merely the digital equivalent of holding physical cash in a traditional wallet. This is very, very important. However, some government officials have not been happy with the limits on current financial surveillance and thus sought to intrude on this space. Fifthly, Congress should remove the laundry list of exceptions from the Right to Financial Privacy Act. Fans of cryptocurrency and advocates of civil liberties are likely excited when they learn of the Right to Financial Privacy Act in the United States, where previous history effectively gave the green light for sweeping financial surveillance. This law was meant to establish that financial activity is indeed protected, yet the law was rendered largely useless because it includes a long list of exceptions.
How does it say? Wait, what does it say? It says it could fix the problem by doing what?
Congress can fix this problem by striking the exceptions and leaving the rest of the law as it stands. It pertains to his fifth point. So these 5 reforms cover a great deal of ground: preventing the unauthorized launch of a CBDC, reining in the Federal Reserve's expansionary tendencies, clarifying illegal tender applications, preventing restrictions on self-hosted wallets, and establishing financial privacy protections. Can certainly seem like a tall order, which it is.
I think those are some good points. I think
very good points.
I think some presidential candidates would currently align with all those. I think DeSantis, Ramaswamy. I wonder if Trump. I don't think Trump would align with these things. You know, that's like there's all these like hardcore Trumpers out there. The guy is not. He's not super aligned with liberty, guys. He's really not. Let's not forget who did Operation Warp Speed, right, with the vaccine.
Yeah, 2024 is gonna be interesting when it comes to this.
I'd be curious to know if RFK Jr. would align with all of them. I think Vivek definitely would agree with this. I think DeSantis would too.
I think RFK too. I think
RFK too. Yeah, I'd be surprised. I don't know where he would disagree.
The paper Vigilante said, I think RFK is more aligned with liberty. Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, no, he definitely is. He is. He said. I think he said some like troubling a couple of things. Where I was like, wait, what? I thought you were a little bit more liberty than that. So everybody's got their things.
So we're gonna have to see. Next thing, let's talk about the new crypto tax reporting obligation.
Oh yeah, this is crazy.
So if you receive 10K or more in crypto, you now have an obligation to report a transaction, including names, addresses, social security numbers, etc. Oh my God, to the IRS within 15 days under threat of a felony charge.
I didn't receive 10K, and I received 100 Monero. I don't use dollars.
This is like very real. Like, let me just say, I'm personally affected by that. Like instantly. I'm supposed to get my Monero CCS paid out, right? That the one that I've done, that I've been working on for years. I'm finally requesting payment. That's going to be interesting, when I get sent. So what social security number is going to be provided for that? And it's very public. I'm out there as completing this CCS and looking for payment. This really goes towards anybody who's in Monero that's publicly receiving funds that's more than this amount. So that should be interesting.
But
the way what Brito is basically saying here, like that this law is as of January 1st, it self-actualizes, and it comes into effect, even though they haven't really even described how the different scenarios and how things should be done. Like, they don't even have the form created that you're supposed to be filling out. It's just a traditional cash form that you'd fill out for if you receive more than 10,000 in cash. They don't even have like an extra field for cryptocurrency. I mean, what's the scenario? There's all these crazy scenarios where people may not even have the ability to KYC the sender. So we'll see where this goes. Yeah, I don't know if this other post you're pulling up, I think it was somebody else that kind of like spoke about it as well, and saying things aren't really clear as to what's going to happen yet. They actually maybe it doesn't get enacted because it's Coin Center is gonna fight back against it. We'll see where that goes. But as written or proposed, it's pretty wild, pretty aggressive.
Bawdy asked a very good question. Does this apply to all persons or all businesses?
It applies to all. I'm going to add Bawdy to stage. It applies to all. It applies to individuals, but it goes into detail. Jerry covers this. It goes into detail, or if you look at what's implied there is if it's people practicing business, right? So anybody who's practicing. So it applies to individuals that are, in business practices. So yes, applies to individuals.
Yeah, and they can modify that definition too. Oh, if it's over $10,000, that was the business sort of transaction because it's higher.
What do you say? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, maybe it's a higher number. So then they're gonna, even if what he said isn't the case, they can maybe change the definition and say, if it was over 10,000, that's like a business transaction. So you get affected, even like individuals.
I might be thinking about.
Go ahead, buddy.
I might be thinking about the wrong form, but I had seen a post. I think it was like form 8003 or something like that, and it talked about cash, and then like there was like another section on the reverse side or somewhere on the IRS website that talked about like, I don't know, defining cash or defining who's covered by it, and it looked. I read it through, and it looked like it was specifically talking about businesses that are taking cash payments for services or products, but it didn't say anything about like specifically about people, individuals, taxpayers in the sense of like.
Yeah, like Jerry Brito, he did. I did read it. He was, whether or not you agree with him, but what he pointed out seemed to be pretty damning to the effect that it applies to people that are practicing. Like, so if you're an individual and you do something that's considered business, it applies to you, right? So like me getting paid out by the Monero CCS for work I've done would be considered a business activity.
I'm sure there's a lot of nuance there, and I haven't really looked at it. Yeah. And of course, we know how much these guys love to liberally interpret their laws or their statutes or whatever.
Yeah. But this is another pretty big shot by the state against people using crypto in the way it's supposed to be used.
In a lot of ways, I got to say that there was a time when, and it wasn't even that long ago, where I was like, I hope that they enact. I hope that someone less tyrannical gets in power, and I hope that the needle starts moving back a little bit towards liberty. I'm completely against that now. I want Biden to win. It would be the best thing for the United States. I want them to continue making as many ridiculous laws and statutes that cannot be complied with, that you literally, that people like just in the course of ordinary activity like this are unable to comply with. You literally cannot get a tax identifier number from the Monero CCS.
Should I just fill out? I mean, I guess what I'll have to do is just fill out a ridiculous form and send it in to like just show an attempt.
Yeah. I mean, that would hypothetically, in the event that they came out,
I should just show up. I should just make it a video because like I don't even think it's clear as to where it's supposed to be sent at this point. I should just like go to Washington D.C. and like ask around. Like, make a video of it. Do you know where I submit this?
Go to the Republican Party. I've been looking
Around
really hard all day long.
People, I don't know.
But I mean, I really do. Like, honestly, I support them to create as many stupid laws, because the more that people are like, wait, I can't even comply with this if I wanted to, that keeps their mind open and limber to say, wait, well, what else should I be disobeying? What else should I not be complying with? But as soon as like some half-assed libertarian-esque candidate gets elected, you know, the other half of the political system is like, well, we got our guy in power now. We can go back to complying with everything because, you know, they'll fix everything eventually. I believe in the system again. Like, we just need the most ridiculous, over-the-top stupidity to keep people like vigilant in the mentality. Like, no. We just need to be disobeying here.
Well, in Mastering Monero, not Mastering Monero, and the Monero Standard, the author talks about the 250-year empire cycle and how we're just about at the end of that at 2030, 2026, right in that area would be the end of the 250-year empire cycle. And the United States is headed towards demise, whether we like it or not.
By the way, that's a really good book. So let me actually.
Yeah, I got mine coming.
Yeah,
in.
it is a good book.
A really good book made by Stoic. So guys, this book is really new. It just came out because before we only had Mastering Monero, which is more technical, but this is called the Monero Standard, and it's kind of like the Bitcoin Standard, and it's not so much technical, but it offers you more of a different.
The way I put it is like. Mastering Monero is about more like what Monero is, how it works, how it functions under the hood. The Monero Standard is why Monero is important in the first place. I think he does a really good job of discussing the why. Like, why should we even care about Monero? I think he did a great job with it.
Yes, he did.
We have my company, Madison Digital Services, is introducing to the market a point-of-sale solution with the Monero first strategy. And if I sell systems from System 76 that we are a reseller. Cool. Let us know more, man. I just jump up on stage. Tell us about your project.
Okay. Last thing that I want to discuss for the news section. This is going to be really interesting, and I'm sure we're going to talk about it next time. This is the biggest farmers protest that Germany has ever seen, and it's going to take effect on January 8th, and they're currently preparing for it.
This is Germany, or this is the Netherlands?
This is Germany. So it started in Netherlands, but now more and more countries are doing the same, and Germany is one of them. So Eva wrote, multiple farmers associations, the train drivers union, and the trucking industry have announced they'll be mobilizing against the federal government's plan to cancel for agriculture diesel, cut vehicle tax exemptions, and increase truck tolls and carbon taxes. There are also countless calls on social media for a general strike against the federal German government, demanding they step down. So they're currently preparing for it, and it's going to be...
Those are all... Wait, we go back to that image. See, those are all potential Monero customers, right? Those are all Monero early adopters.
Yes.
They'll be part of the early wave, understanding the importance firsthand. I mean, the trucker rally was a huge eye opener for people in Canada. So these movements aren't over.
And they're not over.
We just saw Drunk Dial Me. Are you there? Are you still there, Drunk Dial Me?
Wow. Look at that.
I wanted to ask Drunk Dial Me a question.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he's still there. Go ahead.
Crazy. So many. It's gonna be crazy on January 8th. When is that even? I think that's gonna be should be Monday.
Yeah, sorry. I'm here.
Yeah, I was just going to tie in. I saw that guy from the Lancaster reporter posting about that farm that got shut down.
Oh yeah, Amos Miller.
Yeah. Now that's not
Yeah.
the Miller Bio Farm, is it? Because those are the guys that we were working with, Miller Bio Farm, and that was also in Lancaster. But that's not the same thing, I don't think, right?
I've actually been confused on that and whether there's two Miller farms. But the guy we were talking about ages ago from.
Go ahead. Sorry.
What's that? The guy we were talking to. The guy we were talking to ages ago with Farm Match, who was setting up those private buyer clubs for Amish farmers. He was interested in moving his platform to accepting Monero a while ago, and at this point, I'm ready to just pay for it, the integration to happen. But these guys have been in battles with the FDA and having SWAT raids by the FDA and everyone else since the Ron Paul days, early Ron Paul days, like early 2000s. So they're not backing down. They have everyone sign a very extensive contract that it's a private club to exempt them from FDA regulations, et cetera. But and the FDA is violating their own regulations and laws on how they're basically confiscating food. So yeah, that's been in the news as well.
Yeah, and then I saw you and Fiat Demise suggested they should run a Kuno because they were using some the guy from the Lancaster Press or whatever it is set up a donation fund for them to help them.
Give Send Go, I think.
Yeah, Give Send Go, which I assume that's just like all credit cards, right, and stuff like that. I don't even think crypto is involved in an option on there. This is perfect use case for Kuno for Monero fundraising to shine. I tried tweeting the guy out there. Yeah, I don't know if you have a relationship with them, but we should try to get them to do that. I think it would be a nice use case.
I could try to get him as a guest. I think we could maybe get someone as a guest if you're interested.
Yeah, that reporter would be good because I think he's the one that made the GoFundMe too. Give Send Go. Or whatever.
Yeah, Give Send Go is basically the Christian GoFundMe. So they don't deplatform people and blah blah blah.
Oh, okay.
But the banks still do.
Right. And they could deplatform Give Send Go.
Yeah, unfortunately, unless they move the Monero.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So it's just a good eye opener there. Who's I see somebody else we have on here with just like a random characters.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Fine. Just thought to come over here.
Okay, cool.
Things are gonna get really bad these days.
Why do you say that? What do you?
Delisting will happen, but yeah, Monero, I think it will survive. Since it's a really privacy coin, and I think the culture will keep it alive. But if something happens to the US, like I'm from India, and it's like much worse. No gun rights, no nothing, no privacy coin. But I think, as long as US with its guns, as well as the culture of privacy or whatever freedom are left, I think it will still survive. But yeah, things are gonna get worse.
When I hear you on the show, it's an indication to me that things will survive. Right here, you are. You found your way to Monero. You found your way to the Monerotopia community.
Yeah, I think everyone will be on list one way or the other. But yeah, I've been in crypto space for a long time. But yeah, I've been in the shadows, like a background. But yeah, I think it will get really bad very soon.
Where do you think Monero's headed? Do you think so?
I think Monero did something very correct. Means the culture of mandatory privacy and like extreme privacy culture. I think that it will show. Like even those other coins like Zcash as well as Firo, they are having like discussion. Like you'll see their development forms. Every time people will start talking about Monero's doing so well because it's mandatory privacy coin. So yeah, I think Monero, like that, it can help. And I think for privacy coin, or even like if we want to not have CBDC or like more surveillance shoved down our throat, I think Monero really needs to lobby the gun community in US. Otherwise, I don't see any way things will get better. Because it will be it will be like a natural, like a defense, like people, since guns, they're an actual product and people need to buy them. And they're already getting surveillance, they're getting harassed anyway. So I think privacy coin Monero, as well as with the gold community, as well as even the gun community, I think it will really drive the adoption.
I agree. A lot of people mentioning that today. Yeah, couldn't agree more. I said it earlier. Hit me up, Monerotopiaprotonmail.com, if you think there's any conferences we should be attending to represent Monero, to teach people about Monero. Please.
Yeah, I think even like I think there are like some streamers, they are doing like Naomi Brockwell, as well as some of those other guys. They are doing like privacy tutorials. I think coordinating with them, as well as employing some of their format, just to get to those gun community, because many people, like I'm seeing, many people are just scattered doing their own thing. And even in the political space, people are just talking about Bitcoin, and barely people are mentioning privacy coin. So yeah.
It's definitely still niche.
Yeah, like I think you need some kind of technical knowledge to see it's a like transparent ledger. I think people know, but they just want to keep quiet. I think they're afraid of what. But I think, we really have to push in those political space, as well as especially the gun community. If Monero penetrates the libertarian conference, those liberty-minded guys, as well as the Second Amendment guys, I think it will really help drive the adoption.
Yeah, I think we made a lot of headway in the general Liberty community. I mean, we experienced it ourselves with going to these Liberty conferences, and we saw firsthand kind of the Monero meme growing there. But yeah, we need to spread further. I like all the ideas being discussed today about doing more in the the pro 2A community. It's something we should be focusing on. How about you said you're from India. India is a large cash-based society.
We had like a 20,000-year history, unwritten history of gold. Like privacy coin, if we don't focus even on the number going up, if we focus if we focus on the culture of just the function of a privacy coin, or just the function, like there is so much lack of privacy, and if we just go a little back to the old culture of having cash, or having gold transaction, or just buying guns with privacy coin, I think it will really drive the adoption. Then you can have farmers selling vegetables. People are buying their grocery stuffs with Monero. I think it will drive the circular economy. I think for Monero, it's very important to have the circular economy. So yeah, I think Monero, or any kind of privacy coin, if it needs to succeed, I think in the US, it needs to penetrate the 2A community. Otherwise, I don't think things will get better. It will get really worse. The things happening all around the world, it will get much worse.
You're making some very good points. I have a question for you, actually. How is the Monero scene around where you live? Do people know about Monero? Do you know? Or
if you look over here, it's barely. And if people are there, it's in the shadows.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is the point I'm trying to make, because like India is traditionally a large cash economy. They understand gold as a store of value, right? That's very much in their culture, buying gold.
Oh, there is even like underground markets of guns. But yeah, I think if you want to preserve the culture, I think the Latin America communities, as well as the global south, as well as even the north, Canada or like US, I think you have to penetrate those like political space as well as the 2A community. Without guns, I don't think.
Oh, we kind of lost him. Yeah, I agree. My current thinking is really, I think, like globally, the online,
And I think Ascanon, I think he also wants to come to the stage. Yeah, he's also pinging in message.
Okay, yeah, I thought he was up. Yeah, he wants to get
yeah, I think I actually keep getting kicked off from fidgeting with my webcam. It was driving me nuts.
Yeah, I think the digital ID thing, as well as the privacy, which will get degraded over time in the internet. I think to rectify that, or like to get some semblance of the old ways back, I think Monero, or at least the culture of privacy, it has to be deeply penetrated inside the 2A community as well as the political space. Otherwise, things will get really bad.
So I actually wanted to throw out some things about the India thing. And I know I had actually touched on this when we had that other guy who had like this strange Fed-like vibe going on. But anyway, that other guy from India like a couple of weeks ago.
Wait, which guy? I don't remember which guy that was. Was he just a random?
Yeah, he had his hat and his glasses, and his laptop had all kinds of background monitoring software because he doesn't.
Oh yeah, local Monero is working fine in India over here also.
Yeah.
But the thing is, yeah, soon the crackdown will begin. Like they are trying to delist all the exchanges, and over here it's like fully surveils and everything.
You remember how a lot of the time when people talk about remittances, they always think of it in terms of remittances for like US to Mexico or US to El Salvador or something. What most people don't realize is all former crown countries, so in other words, anything that used to be recently part of the British Empire, have some strange economic ties to one another. So for example, it wasn't that long ago that you could actually get a zero interest loan that would be paid off by the government over a period of time, where you could start a business in one crown country if you came from another crown country. So it was really popular for Indians to go to, for example, Canada and either like buy a convenience store or buy a truck, like a semi truck, and get their Class A and start driving it. And then there would be a lot of remittances that would go from Canada to India. Or another thing is a lot of people will get jobs in India as like, a entry-level tech service person, and then they'll use that money for remittances to send workers to, for example, Saudi Arabia. A lot of people don't realize that the remittance market in India is actually much larger by volume. And so there's an even larger economic incentive for Indian workforces to be more interested in the remittance aspect of Monero. But another thing is connecting a bank account for the purposes of the liquidation of the Monero, right? Monero offers ways to completely bypass all of that. But then outside of that, India has a huge bribe problem. Like you can basically bribe anyone for anything, especially if they're like a government official or at the official level. Some of these people will set their price target for their bribe based on how much money they think you have. Or another thing about bribes is, in order to collect your money, you first have to agree to pay a bribe as a percentage of it. But Monero solves that problem too. There is no place in the world that I know of with a better argument for adopting Monero than India, with the exception of maybe like North Korea or Cuba, right? But even in that case, India has like a larger pool of economic incentive
Oh yes, like in India, like even like as culture-wise, like 100 years, you'll see the culture of having like a Hawala system. Like the thing is, people will just move around like gangs of people or like black market stuff. They will just move like pure currency. Like one people will just give you currency and you will contact the other guy. Yeah, that culture is still there. But yeah, I think I think legally it's not possible, but underground, I think Monero will still survive. But yeah, if we have like
there's a stratification issue that I would like you to touch on though, because this is just my understanding. Every time I've ever dealt, well, I probably shouldn't talk anymore, but as far as my understanding in India, the stratification of the population, as far as like the intelligent are extremely hyper intelligent, and then the ignorant masses are a level of ignorant masses that
oh yeah, that's true. Like who will even understand the basic concept of liberty, or like what can actually preserve it, like gun rights? Like they don't have that much means. But yeah, generally the public over here is very like learned or like highly educated.
Yeah, it's a really interesting place for a lot of reasons, but another really bizarre part about India is it's more divided regionally than even the United States. So people think of like this balkanization going on in the United States, where like Wyoming is so different than New York. Most people in the United States can't even imagine what the like something ripe for division.
Oh well, socialism, you can blame that to socialism and communism. It ruins everywhere it goes.
It's just bizarre, right? Like the people who get it, and for example, like northern India versus the people who don't get it, like kind of in the floodplains and on the coasts, or like the pockets of like cultural differences in India. Like Monero offers a solution that people who are from outside of India they wouldn't even begin to understand it unless they actually learn more about how it actually is in India. Yeah.
We have discussed potentially doing a Monerotopia in India in like 2025, which should be
wow.
That
would be so interesting.
Yeah, just bring security. Like make sure you guys bring your own security.
We gotta
that won't be offer. We could do it. A safe place.
Yeah, it's a safe place, but the thing is, it's Monero, not any other crypto coin. That's the thing.
I mean, Monero is legal in India right now, right?
Nope, it's not. It's not.
It's not legal?
It's like a undergroundish, like no exchange will use Monero, but you cannot even trade.
It hasn't been banned in India.
Peer-to-peer is legal, but you can't use an exchange, and
you can hold it. Like it's like if they get caught you, like there is a lot of trouble. Like it's like gray market, black.
What are these Bawdyanarchist, WazirX? Have you ever heard of those exchanges?
Oh no, those are like worse. Those are so bad that even the community are using like Binance P2P. Like it's so bad that the Indian government have to ban those foreign exchanges recently. Just check out the news, I think. And then
right now, there's no way to buy Monero on a.
There is, like in local Monero. Yeah, there is a way to buy
on a centralized exchange.
On the centralized exchange, no, you are done. Even like normal cryptocurrencies, they are starting to put restriction. I think they already have, like they will try to like harass the exchange owners, or like the exchange owners are already co-opted by intelligence agencies. So you can get the picture. So no withdrawal, no deposit. Oh yeah, only deposit, but no withdrawal. So yeah, everything captured by centralized entity. The people know.
What do you think of this idea of, we talk about a lot, right? Building the Monero circular economy, what do you think of an early use case being freelancers using Monero, like people like, let's say, like in India,
Yeah.
providing freelancing services throughout
Yeah,
the world?
actually, it's a good idea, but I think compared to India, the Latin America countries, the one in Argentina or El Salvador, I think those are better targets. But yeah, if you want to make sure the underground economy is working, then India is also a good target. But legally, I don't see anyway.
Thank you so much for jumping on today, man. This has been great.
Yeah, I've been seeing like the culture shift. I think Monero is actually shifting the culture even in other communities. Now, even like those maxis are starting talking about confidential transaction back again. Yeah, like even they are waking up that Lightning it's having issues, and they are like
They're moving on
telling their people,
liquid,
they're moving to liquid. Like they are like using that new Aqua wallet. Like no one, even they don't like their own products anymore.
What I think
So
is really
now,
hilarious is that they've got the 5 stages of grief thing going on, where it was like they just, I mean, you saw how a bunch of people are starting to talk about Monero, like, oh, Monero is like layer 2 Bitcoin. And it's like their bargaining stage for realizing that Lightning is total bullshit and it's never gonna fucking work. Then,
yeah,
we
it's
have a
actually
layer 2. It's
surprising. Like
Monero.
people
It's
used
like,
to
no, Monero is layer 1, and your whole plan was trash. Is what happened.
Yeah, it's actually surprising. People are talking about like Zcash team. They are like CIA plots, but compared to them, I think those Blockstream guys are more like nefarious.
The most
Like who even
dangerous.
uses that liquid? Like why would you even? Okay, you have a hardware company, you have a satellite company, but why would you even have a centralized side chain? It makes no sense. And you will have like you will hire all the developer of the number one cryptocurrency. It even looks nefarious.
You know that I had this saying, like, the most dangerous glowy is the person who repeats the party policies of the glowies but isn't one himself, right? So the people who are the true believers of the propaganda are far more dangerous than the people who are paid to shill the propaganda, because the very first repeater is the first person who gives it that extra layer of credibility as a person who actually believes it.
Yeah, that's true. Like even Firo and Zcash with all its flaws. Yeah, even with Firo and Zcash with all its flaws, you can still say they are doing some innovation with Halo 2 or like Lenantus Spark. But what are those liquid guys even doing? They're just now making sure everyone jumps from Lightning to liquid and stay trapped there without withdrawal or anything.
Yeah, Bawdy was actually, I think he was talking about that not long ago. I didn't actually get to see the finish of his thoughts, but he was talking about making just enough changes to keep everybody a slave, but not making enough changes to do anything substantial. It'd be interesting for him to finish. I mean, he probably did finish the thought. I just didn't read it. But
are you talking about the post I made on Twitter?
Yeah, I saw it last night before I put my kids to bed, and I only got to see like the first thing that you said, but I would like to hear more of that whole.
I said the worst thing for crypto would be BTC gets a couple small upgrades that sort of like rekindle hope, but are insufficient for real progress. What'll happen is that'll just be milked for like another 7 to 8 years with marginal progress, and it'll look a lot like the contrived political cycle that's designed to stifle humanity.
Oh yeah, I'm starting to see some comments like the Indian exchanges are worse. Like if you really look at the language, if you study the language and the culture and look what's happening even on the tutorial phases, people are starting getting fed up with the Indian
You,
exchanges.
you have somebody who's in disagreement with you, Roman, I can't see from here. Jump on, man. Tell us your thoughts. I just put the link in there.
Yeah,
So
I think in Monero, like whoever
Sure.
is like even in the Monero, everyone, I think all the governments are making a list of them. So you have to be careful.
Hopefully, we'll just get them to make a list of like everybody. But
I was listening to.
I mean, I don't know if what this guy's reasoning is, but I2P here. I mean, we've had a lot of Indian guests come on this show and say a lot of different things, but from the information that I have gathered from people who either live in India or work with India or whatever, this guy is absolutely spot on. That is exactly what it's like. And Ramen here, I would love if he would come up and argue his case. But the
Yeah,
problem
like
is
he's
it
telling like
definitely
you can
lines up with
withdraw.
what I've
Okay, good
learned.
luck withdrawing Monero. Good
Yeah.
luck withdrawing any coin.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not a transparent surveillance coin, privacy coin, you won't even see the picture of it.
Mm-hmm. You know, and one of the things that I never hear people on, like, you know, like dark web threads or on, you know, 4chan or whatever, one of the things that I just don't think is brought up enough in the context of crypto is that the corruption and bribery problem in India is absolutely mind-boggling. Like, foreign enterprises actually build in bribes and corruption into their cost estimates at this point. So, for example, if you want to buy, you know, like, for example, pharmaceuticals that are made in India, right? You'll get this crazy, crazy low price. Then you have to price in like 17% for bribes. And it's like openly on the books at these companies, even when you're like analyzing their stock prices and stuff, that they build in the cost of bribery into doing business with India. China is bad, but even China, you don't openly build in the cost of bribes. You just add to the cost of doing business on it. But it has become so normalized for the government to not let anything happen until they get their bribe in India, right? And Monero specifically offers a solution that I haven't seen anybody else offer right now, which is what happens in the shadows. Nobody can ask for a bribe if they don't know about it, right? What happens in the shadows as far as like a contract negotiation, you can't even make an estimate for how much bribes you should be charging. But the other thing is people who want to do legitimate business in India are punished ruthlessly by using
like
transparent ledgers or Indian
oh,
currency.
you want to
or whatever.
hear the capital gains tax? It's like 30%, and there is like a tax deducted at source, like TDS at 1%, and there is no losses.
Yeah,
Like even if you have profit or even if you have loss, you have to pay 30% tax as well as a TDS, which will kill the adoption anyway. So everyone is using like foreign
come on, Ramen,
exchanges.
like, come on the show and explain how this man is wrong.
And
because it's
it's
like, look all of this up for yourself, you know.
He's saying Monero is traded on every Indian exchange. So I don't know. That should be
no,
something
that's not true. As well as the P2P one, you have to understand that the Indian exchanges are far more surveillance proof compared to the foreign exchanges, as well as the underground market.
What is the largest exchange in India? Is it Binance? What is the?
It's like some of the WazirX or like CoinDCX. But there is none now. Everyone is using the greatest Indian exchange right now is still Binance. It's a foreign exchange because it's bad right now.
Can you buy surveillance coins in India and then take them and then do a swap for Monero? So, like, for example, I can buy
it's still
like Bitcoin
possible
here in the States and then do a swap. Okay.
Yeah, it's still possible if you want to pay the high fees of Bitcoin, but yeah, it's like very limited. People
And just
will
to be
do.
clear,
Because like
you can still up to this day get Monero on Binance in India. Or you're saying you can't? They won't let you withdraw it.
So I'm starting to see.
Oh
what
yeah,
he's
you
talking
can use
about.
Binance. Like it was so popular because people can use privacy coins to just use Binance and just get privacy coin, or just use any foreign exchange like KuCoin or any other exchange. But the thing is,
So you
even
know how
local
there's like
Monero
an
is
army of
working fine.
normies that the army of normies that'll use like Robinhood or whatever on their phone, and they'll do all of their like exchange trading and all that on Robinhood. And like the friction point is when you go to try to withdraw, right? It's either you cash out or you get put on some list to wait for having your Monero transferred to a wallet somewhere. I'm starting to see what Raman is saying. I think that what he doesn't understand is if your goal isn't to put fiat into an exchange and do some trading and then take fiat out, if your goal is to actually liquidate your holdings into a Monero wallet as XMR, you can't, like, even the places where you supposedly can, like, the clearing is next to impossible, and they're going to deduct your capital gains at the point of the attempt to liquidate. In fact, I'm looking at it right now.
But wait, hold on. But just to be super clear, can you currently buy Monero on Binance today in India and withdraw? Yes or no?
Right now, yeah, I think with the monetization tag, I think everyone is avoiding it. But yeah, it's still possible, but very high risk.
Okay.
Yeah, but part of the problem too is if you're not liquidating for fiat, there's an impossible number of extra steps, right?
If you want to really buy and hold Monero, I think the best one is local Monero exchange.
Yeah, because I mean, it looks like Raman is right. Yeah, like in theory, you could do all of that. But just looking at some of the basic steps of what it takes to do that, it's almost as complicated as using Lightning, right? It's like, who wants to do this crap?
Raman, you're welcome to jump up. We put the link there. Tony, you want to move on? Do we still have more news?
We have just one more thing.
Oh, more? Let's see. Let's get to it. Might as well get to it.
Yeah, so it's just one more minute, and then we can discuss more. So it kind of ties into the German protest that we were discussing. So this is the Croatian Prime Minister, Mislav Kolakusic, I think his name is, talking about the farmers. So give me 1 second.
Oh, no, wait. No sound.
Oh, no sound? Okay.
Yeah. I don't know what you have to do, how you do that.
Okay. Give me 1 second.
No worries. Yeah, anybody did Ramen jump up? No.
Is this that you will eat the bugs? Oh man, I love this one.
Yeah. This is a very good video. Yeah. Okay, you should be able to hear now. So.
Danas raspravljamo o ulozi vas poljoprivrednika u zelenoj tranziciji. Vaša uloga je iznimno jednostavna. Vi morate nestati. Zašto? Zato jer smetate novoj suludoj ideologiji potpune kontrole nad stanovništvom Europske unije, za koje će u skorijoj budućnosti jedina hrana biti umjetno stvorena hrana nadopunjena uvezenim kukcima sa istoka. Normalnu biohranu moći će kupovati i jesti isključivo bogati. Rat protiv poljoprivrednika je započeo u Nizozemskoj. Tamo se farmerima temeljem zakona želi oduzeti njihovo zemljište i predati u ruke građevinskom sektoru, jer je navodno poljoprivredna opasna po zemljište i stanovništvo. Oni se ne daju tako se neće dati ni poljoprivrednici u Hrvatskoj i drugim zemljama Europske unije. Hvala.
Also, by the way, I said he's the prime minister. I'm sorry, he's not the prime minister. He's just a member of the parliament. So he's not the actual prime minister of Croatia. But I'm so happy that he got on the stage on the European Parliament and he got to say what he said.
Okay, can you translate that? Because I did not understand that and I can't read it. So.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry.
Any kind of translation?
The war against the farmers. The purpose of this war is for them to stop existing. The land will be transferred over to the construction sector, and your only food will be synthetically created or imported bugs, and only the rich will be allowed to buy and eat organic. Because you're interfering with this new insane ideology of top-down control. That's pretty much the bottom line.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Yep.
Wow.
Was that all the news, Tony?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Mellotron saying maybe you could talk about the recent donations that have been made to the children of a small community of Formosa. Yeah, we talk about it all. I think we spoke about it last episode. Tony, I don't know if you could bring it up. Escuelita Bitcoin, who I met in person when I went to Argentina. He's the guy that actually convinced me to go to Formosa. I was like on the fence a little bit. It was a big trip. He's like, yo, you got to come check out Monero Town. He's a big BTC privacy guy. But he's also out there teaching people about Monero, because Monero's kind of already gained attention in this small town, Ibereta in Formosa. But recently he's been posting, he's been teaching the young children of Iberete about sovereign money. He's been teaching them about non-fiat money. He's a good educator. If you look at his tweets, he's been doing some interesting things, trying to simplify things for the kids, teach them the importance of sound money. And he's onboarding them to Bitcoin and Monero. And he recently raised some money, I think mostly from the Monero community, to buy the locals' cell phones to get them up and running, get their own wallets, which is really nice to see. I don't know if you can find his tweets.
I'm trying to do it now.
It's Escuelita Bitcoin.
And if you haven't seen it, you should definitely watch Monero Talk episode 295 with Nate Eat Sleep Crypto, because his quote, I really liked it, because he was talking about every Bitcoin maximalist is secretly a Monero maximalist, and that it's Bitcoin in the streets and Monero in the sheets. I was like, oh my god, that's so awesome.
That's a good t-shirt.
Like, 1 second.
I'll have to get Sunny to that.
That was a really fantastic episode, and I loved that quote.
As much as I love that shirt, I can't wear it because I'm Bitcoin both I'm Monero both places. Like, I'm not Bitcoin anywhere anymore.
Yeah, that's me. That's me too.
I love how there's just kids wearing Monero stuff. My kids walk around with Linux or Monero propaganda on their shirts all the time too. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So this is the kids that he's teaching here. They're from the local Indian tribes of the area. We went and visited them when we were there. We brought them food, which we purchased with Monero. That was Alessandro's idea. We went into the bodega that accepted Monero and the bakery, and we just bought a bunch of stuff. And in return, they gave us stuff to then donate. We went and donated, but he's been hanging out with them, teaching them. It's really nice to see. And yeah, I don't know if you saw the cell phone one, but he got one of them a cell phone. This, by the way, guys, is where Copa Monero will be taking place in Ibereta. We'll be talking about that more soon.
Dude, I'm so stoked for that. I have no idea.
I'm very excited. We're making the poster now. I have Siddhartha making the poster. We'll start talking about it more soon. We worked out a deal with Alessandro. He's going to help us get it off the ground. Right now, it looks like it's going to be 12 local teams that are going to be competing over the course of a couple of months, like 3 months, let's say, that will be playing games on the week, primarily the weekends. And then we're going to live stream all the games, be hooked up. Alessandro found this like talented local videographer, like video company that does this for other local sporting events, where they do a good job at live streaming the games with some good camera angles, and emceeing the game in Spanish, so people will be able to tune in, watch Copa Monero as it evolves. I think it'll be exciting. Maybe there'll be some gambling taking place on the side. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen?
That'll be cool.
Yeah, if there was some really exciting and fun and joyous gambling that we do not condone or recommend in any way, where a person was having an absolute blast gambling unsanctioned by this show.
And then on Copa Monero, the official CopaMonero.com website, that's what we'll show all the teams, and then we'll keep updates, show all the stats, so people can have properly assess their favorite team and watch them. It should be fun. I'm excited.
No, I'm excited too. That sounds fun.
I mean, the vision, if we could get it to come to fruition, but so far so good. And Alessandro is really motivated. Alessandro's the guy who's got Monero Town started there in Iberete, so he's a very motivated individual, and he runs the local soccer club down there. So it's kind of the perfect spot.
Yeah, Argentina is a good spot for education. This one, since they have that new president. Yeah, could be like a plant, like a CIA asset, but yeah, still it's a good experiment.
Oh yeah, you think Malay is controlled opposition?
Could be, but who cares? At least we got, at least in the camera, an anarcho-capitalist.
Yeah. He's been doing some pretty extreme stuff off the bat.
Even if he's fake, but still, and first-time anarcho-capitalist. Even the sound of it, I think it's a very good thing. But yeah, I think if he wants to show his cards, he will just show his cards. But yeah, I think still he will get more opposition anyway.
There's something really bizarre going on with so a long time ago, the FBI and the CIA used to be like kind of like rival factions in a sense, right? Like they and then it was basically at the beginning of like the Obama era, where all of a sudden they were like constantly doing the same things for the same purposes. And even like the most like government bootlicking agents within the agencies were just like, wait a minute, because it used to be like red versus blue, or like, one of those team things where it's like the like Packers versus Vikings or whatever. And it kind of oddly shattered the illusion for a lot of these people. But then at about the same time, some of these people who are like delusionally imagining themselves to be these patriots fighting the bad guys or whatever, we're starting to see that their marching orders were like overtly, blatantly like destroy the country, destroy the economy, destroy the social fabric of the United States. And there was a lot of people who started to like turn around. Well, some of those people they had X amount of time before they could collect their pensions. It was a lot more than you might think. And so they had it in their minds, like, I'm going to go along to get along for another, 5 years, 6 years or whatever. And I knew a lot of these people. And so they would say, oh, well, as soon as I get my pension, well, then they watched pensions basically go tits up. And they found out that all of that was a lie too, and that the fiat, Fed note, all of that stuff. So you have this, and not just at the CIA versus Fed, FBI level, but also at the higher levels, like, these world governing bodies that, like the World Economic Forum or whatever. There's a lot of people who are brought into that as, young people, who were led to believe that they were going to make this Elysium society, and were force-fed some Kool-Aid, that still imagine themselves to be a part of these groups, and still imagine themselves to be part of like this Elysium, we're going to save humanity, and yeah, maybe we have to kill a couple of them or whatever. But they don't
Well,
see
that's
eye
how
to
you
eye on
get communism and socialism.
they
It eventually
don't see
leads
eye
to
to eye
ruin.
on the scorched earth thing, right? And I have a sneaking suspicion that some of the people who have risen to prominence represent people who are like in the club, right? But they don't actually see the same vision of like the scorched earth policy. You know, we have to destroy everything to rebuild it. And some of them are believers in kind of like the, you know, let the best and brightest kind of climb to the top, because that's what it was sold as originally, right? I remember back in the day when you would be approached by these kinds of people, they'd say, you know, the ignorant masses will never appreciate you anyway. The ignorant masses are not, you know, they don't deserve this life extension technology. They don't deserve this, you know, really cool computer technology or whatever. And if you give it to them, they're just going to ruin everything. But what if you join this exclusive club and you can have all of the benefits and whatever, and the people who are worthy, they'll climb to the top of the cesspool of the ignorant masses, and then we'll bring them in, right? Well, that illusion is breaking down for the people who are inside the club, because they see the best and brightest being beaten down back into the ignorant mass cesspool. Now, I don't believe any of this, but this is how they see it, right? And this is how they'll describe it. That illusion is being ruptured. And so a lot of the insiders, I would imagine, I don't get to be an insider because I'm pretty vocal about like, let's burn their shit down, right? But it appears to me that the insiders are now having within their own club people who are more like pro ignorant masses, I guess you could say, and people who would like to see more freedom and more open economies. And they also see that this very same system of you will eat the bugs and you will live in a coffin and all that stuff, as soon as the masses are put into that position, they're next. Or the technocracy, like the technocratic elite, were supposed to be like, oh, well, the ignorant masses will stay poor, but you, if you build the AI and if you build the drones and all of that stuff, then you'll get in the inside club. Well, they're starting to realize that they're next on the chopping block as well. And those are the people that prop up the, you know, the leaders, right? So within the self-perceived elite, you know, whatever they want to call themselves, right? We'll call them the arrogant technocrats, right? Even within that group of people, their survival instinct is turning on. Now, I don't care to like, yay, Malay, whatever. But to me, it's like either we give ourselves freedom or we're never going to have it, right? So, okay, cool.
I think that's true. I think the biggest mistake the U.S. foreign policy they have done is that they didn't advance the Second Amendment to the rest of the world. They just told, oh, privacy, oh, freedom, oh, democracy. What the heck? If you do not have like the gun rights, I think, okay, yeah, you in rest of the countries, if you are not North Korea or Cuba, you can have like graphene OS with your like Pixel phone, or you can have like good amount of like economic freedom or like political freedom. But when things start getting bad, the thing that will save you are guns.
But
if you really want
make like
to
a small alteration to what you're saying here, man? It's not about having the codified law of you are allowed to have guns. It's about actually having guns and ammo. Okay.
Yep, that's
this
true.
idea
That's
that
why
like
I
the
think
Second Amendment gives you the right. The longer people have that in their head, the weaker the argument becomes. It's like either you have guns and you have ammo, or you don't have a Second Amendment. Whether or not it's written in a constitution or not, it's completely irrelevant. And the other thing that I like to tell people is either you have them and you know how to use them, or you don't have them, right? This you would not believe how many times I've seen like some African country, you know, like the UN just dumps a giant pile of guns and ammo into the hands of the local population. And because they don't know how to use it, they're taken down by a bunch of machete wielding people or whatever, because they'll just sit there and not even know how to reload, not even know how to use a magazine, not even know how to, you know, pull a charging handle or, you know, clear their firearm. Or it's either you know how to use them or you don't have them. And either you have them or there's no point in the law. And by the way, it doesn't end with you having them. Your neighbors also have to have them and know how to use them.
Yep, that's true. Yeah, I think the concept of natural right of self-defense, I think people will soon need to wake up to that. Yeah, that is true. But the thing is, with 3D printing, yeah, it's actually make sure that the gun rights, like what happened with the US, like the NFA, the restriction of machine guns, fully automatic machine guns. I think even if it gets resolved, if you have the political support to remove that, yeah. But for the rest of the world, I think they will soon, when things get rough, they will soon need to wake up to their natural right of self-defense. But yeah, I think it will take a huge amount of suffering to get there.
Can I throw in a couple of points? So yeah, Alaska Non's totally correct. Every time communists come to power, they liquidate the kind of radicals that brought them into power. Like the Soviets did it. They had the Stalinist purges. Hitler liquidated the brown shirts. The Chinese liquidated the Red Guard after they came to power. So that's something I think you always see division and splintering in these movements. So I think we're probably going to start seeing that in the next decade or sooner with the globalists. But the oh shit, what was my other thing I was going to mention? Oh well.
All right, guys, we're coming on to 3 hours here. I thought this was a great show. Thank you to the new guy who jumped up. I don't know what to call you. I2P.
Oh yeah, it's just a name, like to mention that yeah, we need like even network level privacy. The things like about to happen in the future, we have to really amp up our defenses.
Sounds like we should have Alaska Anon to these gun shows to do the Lord's work on Monero.
But actually, I've done it before. I didn't want to say anything, but I've actually done the Monero evangelizing at a gun show many times. It goes pretty well, but one of the missing pieces is there's not enough people 3D printing. And there's also not enough people who have the technical expertise to make ammo. It's the chemistry side of ammo production escapes a lot of people because consistent blast effectiveness, like consistent like chemical energy in your powder is a major issue for a lot of people.
Oh, the 3D gun community's already solved that. They have 3D printed maglev guns. So basically any ferrous material you can find, it can actually shoot it at high velocity. So you could take a strip of metal trim and just cut it into little squares.
I mean, coil guns.
So tiny rail guns?
You can do them at scales that are mind-blowing. Like you can, I mean, in theory anyway, I'm not saying anyone should do this or, you know, maybe has done it, but you could totally mount a coil gun on like an excavator. Right. I mean, you can take coil guns to a level that are absolutely mind-blowing. And in fact, as long as the grid is running properly, you know, there might be like high voltage lines or 3-phase lines that like, I'm just saying coil guns are amazing. But on the biggest problem with like either you're armed to the teeth with firearms so you can kill just the thing that you want to kill, or you're armed to the teeth with, you know, chemicals underneath the kitchen sink and you take everybody with them, you know? And that's the real argument for the Second Amendment is either I'm going to kill just the guys I'm trying to kill, or I'm going to kill everybody along with the guys that I'm trying to kill. Which one would you prefer, right?
Well, besides the open source the railgun, the magnetic railgun that can shoot any ferrous material at all, there's also an open source laser rifle that can basically set anything combustible on fire instantly. I saw a video on YouTube.
Laser Anon, he lived out here. He got caught because he murdered some people. I won't get into it, but I don't know if you remember, like, one of the guys who was instrumental on like putting all of that out. He lived out here. You can't get to him by road from where I was at, but there was like a couple of days where I was like trying to talk him off the ledge, and then finally I found out he had already done it, and I was like, oh no. Well, that Dillingham is where he's from, so if you look up Dillingham and murders, you can find out who Laser Anon actually was. At this point, his identity being kept secret doesn't really matter anymore. But yeah, I don't know if that's if that interests you, or you even remember who Laser Anon was. But yeah, he actually did kill him with the laser gun, by the way. So
yeah, the things are advancing with 3D tech. I think it will really liberate if properly it is allowed to happen, or somehow we just get the tech outside. I think 3D printing will really liberate a lot of people.
Santa just got my daughter a 3D printer. I see Roman is saying, sorry, I was too loud and also used harsh words. I understand I could keep my point without being polite. Also, I can keep my point with being polite. Also, it will not happen again. Wow, thanks, man. That was very big of you to.
You're not kidding. We would love it. I mean,
we apologize as well, because Ron, he was making some good counterpoints and just trying to get the proper information out there.
Yeah, about that, if you want to know more information, just research the crypto tax in India as well as the Aadhaar card and how to get a SIM card. Just research those.
Yeah, and you're more than welcome to come on the show anytime, man. Give us the updates of what's going on there. And Ramen as well. You're always welcome to jump up on stage. You don't have to put your camera on. You can speak up.
Yeah.
Speak up.
And Ramen, I hope you see that I was really grateful that you did what you did, because as I dug a little deeper, I realized we were being a little hyperbolic. Like when we say you can't get XMR, you can't get XMR. Well, we're talking about it in the context of the practicality, right? But you were right. You can, and you can trade it, and you can. But one of the things when you pushed us to clarify, that was very important, because we don't want to put blatantly false information because of how hyperbolic it is. Yeah, I mean, you're right that it is possible. But kind of the point that was being attempted there that we did kind of a bad job at is that between the taxes and liquidating actual XMR e-notes into an XMR wallet, and like the many steps between putting money on the exchanges and then taking XMR off the exchanges, it's highly impractical for the purposes that this community would be interested in. And I'm super glad that you pushed us to be better in the clarity of this situation. And then also looking into what you were saying, I also realized that I too was not fully informed as to how people are getting XMR in India right now. I was definitely at least a couple of months out of date. The point still stands, for sure, but the clarification that you brought to the table is very appreciated. It's awesome.
See how that works. Monerotopia is welcome to all ideas, all arguments, all opinions. Well, to a degree, as long as it's focused on the topic at hand. All right, guys, I'm going to call it here. Unless any last words from anybody who wants to get anything out there before I close it out.
Yeah, the IRS rules. Last word on IRS taxing. I think that's going to be a relatively good thing for Monero on net.
Okay.
People are going to start realizing, like, oh shit, this is getting serious, and I think they're going to start taking a look at Monero, much harder look at Monero.
Another Streisand effect coming into play there. I agree.
Last words.
I agree.
You know what?
Yeah,
one of
taxation
the
is theft, I
Go
think.
ahead.
Go ahead,
Go
man.
ahead, bro.
Yeah, taxation is theft. I think people will soon understand the true meaning of those words.
The real argument with the tax thing, with the tax code, for the normies who are like afraid of, oh, my taxes, if I don't pay taxes, blah, blah, blah. If you talk to one of these spineless jellyfish who are absolutely pathetic cowards, you can easily tell them, look, no matter how hard you try to comply with the law, you will not. It's basically written to make sure that there is some kind of way that it can be interpreted against your favor. The safest and best way to protect yourself from being audited is to start with the most private way to do any and all interactions, and then only volunteer information that you believe you are obligated to volunteer. If you want to pay your taxes, you should at least protect your privacy as far as you possibly can to keep the eye of Sauron off of you. And if you don't approach it that way, you are willfully sacrificing the wealth of your children, your own personal security. You are volunteering your personal information to any hacker or any 3-letter agency that wants to go rogue. You should always start from the position of being as private as humanly possible and work your way out from there. And if you don't do that, then you deserve what's coming to you.
Yeah, and unfortunately, you might bring us down with you, so don't do it. This is a great show, guys. This is fantastic. We've had consistently over 50 people streaming in today. I think we hit 60 at one point. Even now, we're at like 46, 50. This is nice to see. Like and share the show, guys. Let's keep growing this community to the point where we really just don't care what they do on the outside. Just opt out, build our own thing here, and proceed. Thank you so much, everybody. We do these shows every Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern. Tony, man, thanks for running the show this week.
Thank you.
Elasticon, thanks as always, man, for consistently jumping up here. Shortwave, thank you. New guy, thank you, man. Very insightful. You're welcome anytime to jump up here. Drunk Dial Me, appreciate it. Bawdy, man, thank you for doing the price report as always.
Hey, I2P, do you have a name that we can call you, like just some kind of handle?
This is fine.
Right.
Yeah, I would like to keep my identity.
Okay, I'm just gonna call you I2P. Okay, so
yeah, that's actually fine.
Okay.
All right, we'll see you guys next Saturday, 11 a.m. Eastern. Tony, you want to roll the credits?
Yes. Okay.
Let's do it.
Thank you for joining us on this week's Monerotopia episode. We stream live shows every Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern. You can find and subscribe to our show on YouTube and Odyssey, or listen to the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or Stitcher. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or join us in the Monerotopia Telegram group. See you all next week.
All righty.